revenue collection and also the burden to mwananchi. Our projection that the finance bill is likely to raise 120 billion shillings. So for every proposal we give out, we also provide an alternative way of funding the additional budget pressures without injuring mwananchi. So to Kenyans, be assured that PBO as a parliamentary budget office, we've given advice to members of parliament. I am sure they've always listened and they listen to us, and I believe and pray that the outcome of the proposals from the expenditure and revenue side will be beneficial to Kenyans in line with the beta agenda of the government of the day. Yes.
Maybe nasikia inaniwasha hii swali, maybe are we going to see an increase of the budget for 2027-2028, or perhaps projections inasema inaweza enda chini kidogo?
Projections indicate that expenditures being rationalized for 25, 26, 27 and 27, 28, you'll see a continuous slowdown, and then it means ministries might be able to do more with less.
Okay. So a parting shot, maybe if you feel there's something you wanted to maybe to talk to mwananchi about.
Nothing so far. I think we just expect our office expects that perhaps 26, 27 will be a better year if MDS are able to utilize the money in an efficient and effective manner, geared towards just offering services to the common mwananchi, which is the cardinal role of the legislature.
Of the legislature, exactly.
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. That has been the director of the Parliamentary Budget Office, Dr. Martin Masinde, shedding light to me and you regarding the budget process, when it starts, when it ends. He said that we are at the tail end of the 2025-2026 financial year, meaning that the 2026-2027 financial year, meaning that the next budget is almost coming to its, or rather starting basically that. So right now I'm joined by my colleague, my fellow journalist as well as commentator, the parliamentary proceedings. This is
you don't know my name.
Edward Kabasa.
How are you?
Welcome.
Good job.
You have been missing in action for a long time.
Not really. There is so much away from the screens. There's a lot that happens, especially in our spheres of journalism.
Yes.
Been to China for 2 weeks. Learned so much. But today I'm really excited about the 4.8 trillion that the cabinet secretary is going to lay bare before the country this afternoon.
And
the engagement so far points to the direction that Kenya is actually moving ahead. And what I am really interested in is finding out how, the tax measures that the government is putting into place are going to help this country achieve the needed development that we require. A new airport terminal is going to be built, by the way, and I think it's one of those things. I hope he mentions it. Yes, and also education, CBE is a new curriculum that I think the government is trying to lay a lot of emphasis on. It is getting the lion's share of the budget that is going to
also
be
health
there
is
today.
part of
Health is also there.
Yeah.
The universal health coverage is something that I think the government is really trying to achieve. There is also the hiring of intern teachers and so many good things that I think the cabinet secretary will be presenting this afternoon to Parliament.
Well, so for me that wraps it up. Thank you for allowing me to steer this particular conversation this morning. I have talked, or we have heard from the Chairperson Budget and Appropriations Committee, Honorable Samuel Atandi, and also we have also gotten some insights regarding the budget process and how the Parliamentary Budget Office is actually, what its role is in the budget process in guiding the legislature. That was from the director, Dr. Martin Masinde. So as of now, for now, I hand it over to my colleague, Edward Kabasa, who will be able to walk with you through the next conversation. Of course, later on in the afternoon, the CS for Treasury, John Mbadi, shall be in the chamber to be able to present or make the budget pronouncements for the next financial year. That's it from me. My name is Kamche Menza. See you later.
Thank you very much, Kamche Menza. It is a very interesting afternoon. 4.8 trillion shillings is going to be presented, what the government is going to do to ensure that it attains this this money that is going to fund Kenya's development in the 2020-27 financial year. The Cabinet Secretary for Treasury will be before Parliament this afternoon to read out the budget, and there is health, education, agriculture, housing, roads and infrastructure, social protection, security, youth and women empowerment. What does the Cabinet Secretary has in store for these sectors? And joining me now is Ugenya Member of Parliament, David Ochieng. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Even the climate today agrees that it is a momentous occasion for the country. What are you waiting for this afternoon? What is your expectation like?
Oh, thank you so much, and I agree with you that it's a momentous day and occasion. And for me, I'm looking forward to especially resources and investments in the productive sectors. You know, we want to hear how much money is going into fisheries, how much money is going to coffee, how much is going into sugarcane, how much money is going into agriculture generally. Because as you know that our Kenya Kwanza manifesto is very strong on investing in the productive sectors. And I know that through the process we've just gone through, we've been pushing for more resources going into those productive sectors. You know, we want more money in agriculture, fisheries, blue economy, mining, cooperatives, and I'm certain that in the afternoon we'll listen to more on that. I'm also aware that so much resources is being put in social protection, trying to ensure that the indigents, the older people, you know, widows, the disabled persons are taken care of. You know, as an African society, we are reminded that we must take over the weakest of ourselves, of us in the society. I also am looking forward to resources in sectors that, you know, help what you call the downside of production, you know, infrastructure. Kenyans are looking at ensuring that the things that are supposed to be done, the money is on railway to Kisumu to Malaba, the money is on the Mau Summit, Rironi, the key roads, the key sectors that require, that help us, you know, interconnect in the country. We were looking forward to seeing how much money has been put into, especially roads, railways, and lake, or generally lake transport. You know, for example, Lake Victoria today is not very much utilized transport-wise. And we're looking forward to more resources being put in, especially ferry, security in the lake, and ensuring that there's restocking of fish in Lake Victoria especially. We are looking forward to resources that are going to ensure that in the future we have fish industry growing. You probably are aware that there's a big project happening now in Nyando on aquaculture. We want to see resources that are put in our budget that will ensure that what is being built in Nyando flows down to the lake, and the whole of the lake infrastructure is done so that the fisher folk are able to benefit. You know that for us, we've been pushing for the ring road that runs from all the way from Busia to Mfangano, on the other side of the lake. And we are hoping that enough resources have been put in that budget that will ensure that those roads that have been promised over the last 20, 30 years are done and are done properly. You know that Kenyans are now paying a lot of money in terms of the housing levy. And Kenyans want to see the housing money being spread equitably across the country, so that what is being built in Mombasa, in Turkana, in Nyeri, and in Lamu meets the standard of what the country requires. We want to see a more balanced distribution of the cake we have as a country. You probably know that we still have out there more than 100,000 trained teachers that are looking for jobs.
True.
And so Kenyans will be waiting to hear that in this budget, how many more teachers are being absorbed. Of course, you know, this government has done very well in absorbing the trained teachers. You know, so far we've absorbed almost 50,000.
Yeah.
We are hoping that in this coming budget, it can absorb another 20,000 to 40,000.
Yes.
Kenyans are looking forward to hearing from, you know, the minister this afternoon.
And among the highlights, especially on that, is 4.9 billion shillings that has been set aside to employ 20,000 teachers on permanent and pensionable basis. Is this a good start, especially for a country that has come, you know, from a history where there's been a lot of agitation, especially from the teaching fraternity, that you need to employ more?
It's actually not a good start. It's a good continuation. Because as you know, in the last 3 years, we started with 20,000, 20,000, 10, now 20,000.
Yes.
And we were hoping that in case there's going to be a supplementary ahead, we'll absorb another 20,000. You would probably know this, that our schools are, especially the senior schools, are largely understaffed. If you go to the far-flung areas like Turkana, Northeastern, you go to parts of Nyanza and Western Kenya, the understaffing is quite acute. And so having more teachers that have been trained being absorbed for me is a big plus. You probably know that among those who are going to be absorbed, there's also a bigger number that are still on internship, that have not finished. And the program, and we hope that we provide money for it, is that anybody who has been absorbed into internship should be given permanent pensionable job after the 2 years. And I want to plead with Kenyans and the NAT and the KUPPET, please allow this to run the way it's already being run. Let's not, after 6 months, after 1 year, you are now saying, oh, they have done so much work, they should be absorbed. If the agreement is that they intern for 2 years and then get absorbed, let's stick to that so that more people are able to come into this system. We have more teachers getting employed.
During the National Assembly retreat in Naivasha, the question about the cost of educating a Kenyan student arose.
Yeah.
Again, what is the cost of educating a Kenyan student all the way from preschool to university?
I don't think I'm probably placed to answer that question, but we probably know. First of all, I'm very happy, by the way. I must say I'm happy with the changes in the Ministry of Education. You know, with our PS, we didn't understand what he was doing. And now with the new PS who has spent his time in the ministry, we are certain that the reforms you're looking for in the education sector are going to be dealt with. You know, the question we asked that time, and that I was still asking, and that we'll continue asking the new PS, please get us an optimal cost so that a parent knows that when my kid goes to ECD, this is what I'll spend. When my kid goes to junior school, this is what we'll need. When my kid goes to preparatory school, the CBC from grade 1 to grade 6, this is what I'm going to spend. So that we are aware as a country the kind of resources we require. In this budget, for example, you see how much is going to the education sector? 780 something.
781.4
billion shillings.
This is the lion's share.
You understand? So we should not be doing potea pata with our education sector. We should be clear. We are spending this much money. What do we expect to get back?
Yes.
You know, the ongoing unrest in schools is a symptom of something that we need to address. Our planning in education. We cannot be investing so much money and our planning is loop-sided. We must see some of these things before they happen so that we're able to address them. And above all, with all the expenditure, we cannot leave the running of institutions to students. Students must be led. They must be told what to do. We must inspire them. They must see that this country is working for them, so that they stop banning schools.
The funding of universities and TVETs, when President William Ruto came into office, there was a lot of misinformation, disinformation, and there are those people who didn't understand how the new funding model would work. And we have seen that over the years, the process has smoothened. We no longer see students complaining about their their loans and bursaries. In the new fiscal year, and with this amount that has been allocated to the education,
we had tasks in one app, docs in another, meetings somewhere else. It was complete chaos. Then we moved everything to ClickUp. And when
Thank you. Like any other new program, there is bound to have problems with implementation. But I believe that the funding model for the TVETs and the universities is the best ever. The example here is this, that we had people like David Ochieng, who, by the grace of God, is now a member of parliament, has capacity. So how would I be paying $1 million shillings per year for my kid in a school in Nairobi, and then when they go to the university, I'm demanding to pay 16,000 shillings? And there are many of us who, our kids are paying $500,000 shillings in high school, 1 million shillings in high school. And then the university are now saying we should pay 20,000 shillings for tuition. It's just not fair. And that's why the funding model that we prepared ensures that those who have capacity to pay higher. Those who have no capacity to pay nothing where necessary. I just want to say one, now that there's the resources for funding of higher education, first of all, let's release the money to the universities on time. Number two, let's make it easier for the students to access these resources. And number three, let's ensure that those who don't have the means testing system should be in such a way that those who the band puts at a level where they are not, there's a system for appeal that works very fast, that ensures that no one is missing out. You would probably know this, that part of time is that some children are put in bands that they didn't belong, with the result that some of them actually dropped out of school. Some of them who had scored A's decided not to go to the university because the funding model had placed them wrongly. And so, as you said, as the system goes on being perfected, I'm sure it's going to be a good system that works for all of us. But above all, you would know that we put enough resources in this budget that will go to the universities direct to ensure that they keep our children in school.
All right.
Yeah.
And then there is 175.5 billion shillings allocation to health. Universal health coverage is one of the areas that the government is really trying to push. But there have also been issues to do with SHA. Some complaining that it has teething problems as well. Some saying that it does not work at all. But there are those who say that SHA works. As a member of parliament, what is your assessment, and what are some of the areas that perhaps this budget is going to cure?
Well, first of all, on SHA, I believe there's some resistance to change that Kenyans should understand that SHA isn't and wasn't meant to be a temporary measure. SHA is anchored in the law. It wasn't a policy proposal. SHA is going to be here with us, and therefore we must work with it and ensure that it works and helps wananchi access health services. So anybody who thinks that SHA is going to go away tomorrow or that it's going to be scrapped should forget about it. SHA is a good system. The way the law has been worked on is very good. We just need to work on its implementation. Number two, the ministry concerned and the stakeholders concerned must address corruption in the health sector. Because the biggest issue in the health sector during the NHIF times, and some of it is now seeping into the SHA system, is corruption, a lack of accountability, wanting to benefit from where we've not sown. And so we keep asking those who are concerned, can we ensure that SHA is run without corruption? Number three, the ministry concerned must keep creating awareness, must keep making the public aware of the benefits of the new healthcare structure, from the level 1 hospital, dispensary, health center, through level 4 to the referral system. The awareness creation is going to be very important so that people know, where am I going for this kind of treatment? Where am I going to go for this kind of treatment? Where do I need a referral? Where do I need a letter for me to move from this hospital to the next? And what are the benefits attendant to that? In most cases where people are complaining, it's lack of awareness. And so awareness is going to be very important. Number three, and I say this knowing what's going on, let's keep pushing more money to the counties. Let's keep pushing more money to the county hospitals. Let's build the structures, because most of the ailments we're dealing with are actually primary healthcare issues. They're actually things that do not require someone to come from the coast or come from Nyanza to Nairobi to Kenya National Hospital. There are things that could be sorted out at level 4 hospitals that are being run by the counties. So we need to work with the counties more, build the capacity more, and above all, make Kenyans know that you can actually get proper services in those hospitals. And so it's upon all the counties also to ensure that they invest properly in the hospitals, level 4, level 3, because most of these things we are dealing with in Nairobi will end up in those hospitals. So I believe the investments we are making in the health sector are worthwhile. Kenyans should see the benefits of the monies we are allocating to the health sector.
When President Donald Trump took office for his second term, he made so many changes, and a lot of those changes affected Kenya, which has been a beneficiary of USAID, for example. Now the government has allocated 18.5 billion shillings towards HIV programs. Do you think this is enough?
I don't think it's enough, but I think it's a good gesture and a good investment towards ensuring that we wean ourselves off dependence on donor support on key areas. You know, we should depend on donor support in other areas, but not, for example, in the managing of malaria, managing of TB, managing of largely communicable diseases, and managing of HIV. These should be things that are matters of national security, existential. And so we should fund them from our budget. We should not seek to, I mean, malaria we know kills many people in this country. TB, HIV. Why should we leave it to the largesse of donors? Why shouldn't we put our own money? And that's why the 18 billion shillings may look small, but I believe that as time goes, we increase it so that we ensure you're putting money in areas where we don't threaten our national security if someone withdraws their donor support. I mean, what Trump did showed us that what happens if one day we wake up and say UN is not supporting this, UNICEF is not supporting that. We need to be sure that on areas that touch on the very health of the country, we are funding ourselves at a level of self-sufficiency.
COVID really pushed countries to the limit. Kenya was not an exemption, and now there is Ebola. There is a whole lot of politics going on. But do you think that it is important for Kenya to be conscious and prepare itself for an eventuality that Ebola gets here?
It's a very interesting question to ask in 21st century, especially in 2026. But this should be no-brainers. I believe that, for example, we have a hospital called Alupe in Busia.
Yes.
Alupe was set up before independence, and the mandate of Alupe was to help deal with communicable diseases, infectious diseases. And so Alupe by now should be running a state-of-the-art, because it's at the border. It's at the border between Malaba and Busia.
Yes.
And these are our two major border posts if you leave Namanga, with the movement of people from the rest of the world, the rest of the country. And so I believe we must keep investing in these areas. In fact, it's an aberration to hear that we are waiting for Americans to invest in our management of diseases like Ebola. We should be dealing with this locally, and it shouldn't matter whether they're American or Kenyan. We should be prepared for these eventualities. If COVID experience is anything to go by, we should invest in these things in a manner that when they happen, they're not a crisis. They shouldn't be a crisis. Ebola, in my opinion, shouldn't be a crisis because we've had Ebola before. Outbreaks of Ebola have happened before, and we shouldn't make it a crisis. Above all, we shouldn't make Americans or any foreign country to think that they're going to help us manage this kind of situation. These are areas that we can only collaborate on, but we cannot allow outside countries to take lead in some of these things.
And now to a point that probably is close home. Energy.
Yes.
There is the rural electrification program that is currently underway.
Yeah.
And a lot of money, I'm seeing 16.3 billion shillings has been set aside for rural electrification projects.
Yeah.
What is your assessment of the program? Is it to a level that you feel is necessary, or?
I think on rural electrification, we are not doing our best. If you walk into Nyanza today, you'll find villages where there are poles for electricity that have been lying there for 1 year. No, they brought a pole here, they put 100 poles there, 200 poles there. For a whole year, they're just lying there, nothing is being done. So much as there's money you're putting in there, the level of implementation, enforcement of contracts, ensuring that people who have capacity are being given those contracts, is derailing this process. In fact, I must call upon the minister concerned. I must call upon the REREC CEO and his team. We are not doing well in that regard. Money is being allocated, but output on the ground is suboptimal. We must call to order those who have been called upon, because you can't be launching projects every single day. You bring poles, you bring poles, you bring poles. When the minister leaves, the following day the contractor also leaves. We must ensure that whether you launch a project, there's resources for it, and they do to the end. When you ask, you're told, oh, you know, we didn't have circuits, we didn't have conductors, we don't have conduits. You know, we can't have a situation where you are giving the country hope, and for a whole year nothing is going on.
Where do you think the gap is? Is it the funding or the generation of power? Because Nyanza, for example, is having serious connectivity issues. There's a lot of blackouts in Nyanza.
No, first of all, you must look at my opinion, like I've told you, is one, we have so many contracts going on about connecting people through the last mile, but they're never completed. So complete that first. Then number two, and you've said this severally, we must improve the capacity. And that is why, much as I hear people, complaining, if we can build a safe nuclear plant in Siaya, in that part of the country, because you are right, the highest number of blackouts in the country are in Western Kenya. Yes. And Western Kenya means Trans Nzoia through Bungoma all the way to Migori. We have blackouts, any small drizzle, blackout, any small rain, blackout. And the blackouts go on for a long time. People cannot do business. Productivity goes down when power cannot be guaranteed. And that is why, over and above the last mile, we must ensure that the stability of the grid is guaranteed. Without having power coming from Uganda through our region, and then we are the most unstable in terms of capacity to keep power running.
Ethiopia set the standard and the pace when it launched the dam.
Yes.
And I think for Kenya, perhaps, should we use that as a benchmark? And if we are to generate more power, aside from the nuclear plant that has been proposed for Siaya, what are other areas that we can venture into to boost our power production and supply?
The potential for geothermal power is quite big in the country today, and it's not being tapped even at 10%, in my opinion. Number two is allow for cheaper independent power production structure and systems that ensures that if someone is producing their own power, we can get into the grid at a cheap rate. For example, that we've had that problem where Kenyan is producing power at 10 shillings. The IPPs are selling power to Kenya Power at 100 shillings. So we must deal with independent power producers in a manner that promotes country's growth. We should promote more independent power production, get into the grid at rates that also help Kenyans to grow. Geothermal is a good area. Solar power is a good area. Just promote it and allow it to go into the grid.
Let's talk about the infrastructure fund. And I understand that JKIA is about to get a facelift at approximately 300 billion. How excited should Kenyans be? The last time the government tried to develop JKIA, there was a lot of upheaval.
First of all, personally, I must tell you that I need that airport to be done as soon as yesterday. Politics are out of it, corruption out of it. Just have a decent airport. If you're a Kenyan, and let me tell you, I receive guests for parliament in our airport, and I travel also quite a lot. Our airport really is a shame. It's a big shame, I'm telling you. The thing you're calling JKIA here isn't an airport. It's some thing that was built, it looks like a cowshed. So we must support the revamping and a facelift for JKIA at whatever cost. We must have a new airport out there, because we are being outcompeted by Rwanda.
Yes.
We are being outcompeted by Ethiopia. You walk into Ethiopia today, land in Dar es Salaam, land in Zanzibar, then come and land at JKIA. It's a big, big shame. So a new airport we must have. We don't have a choice about it. We should just ensure that as we have them, Kenyans are comfortable about accountability. Kenyans feel that the money is, their money is getting, they're getting value for their money. Yeah. So we must ask the actors also ensure that as this happens, let Kenyans get value for money. But the airport for me is base. We must have a new airport. There's no two ways about it.
After the 2024 Gen Z demonstrations, there's always been this feeling that every time the government introduces amendments to the Finance Act, it's always about introducing new taxes. What is your assessment of this?
I think it's a suspicion born out of deficit of trust. And let me tell you, deficit in trust on government is not just in Kenya. Yeah. It's all over the world. People always think government want to take their money and, it's going to end up in corruption and all this. But countries that are self-respected and self-respecting grow their economies using their own resources. And that's why, for example, Ndugu, there are people who worked for 40 years in government and who are saving 20 shillings per month with NSSF. Now you go home, you can't even get 1,000 shillings a month as from NSSF. Yeah. So, for example, if we introduced an increase in NSF savings. That is your money from 200 shillings. What can 200 shillings buy for you today? Okay? There are reforms that were long overdue. The reforms in NSSF were long overdue, so that even if you save 1,000 shillings, 2,000 shillings a month, when you retire, you go home with something serious. You know, number two, we are doing a budget today. That budget has to be funded. Okay? We just need to ensure that as we fund our budget, we are also leaving Kenyans with money in their pockets so that they're able to go about their duties and their activities every single day without feeling the government is taking away all the money from their pockets. But Kenyans must also understand that when we borrow the way we are borrowing very highly from outside, then somehow our sovereignty as a country is undermined. So as a proud Kenyan, I believe that there are sacrifices that we must make to build our country. So much has been said about the finance bills, and finance bills have been there since 1963. It's not the first time we're having a finance bill, and I think we should give government the benefit of the doubt that we are doing the best in the circumstances, and we want to grow our country, all of us.
So after this, focus will shift to Parliament, because I know that the Cabinet Secretary will bring a number of amendments to Parliament, and then also the revenue-raising measures, which of course must be approved. What is going to happen between today and let's say December? Because after this there will be the next year there will be probably it will be called an election budget, I think so. What should Kenyans look forward to, especially from Parliament?
No, Parliament, okay, for example, next week we're going to pass a appropriations bill.
Yes.
Then we'll have the finance bill coming after that.
Yes.
Personally, I want to look at this budget being implemented. Like I told you when we started, I've seen money in that budget for fisheries, for coffee, for tea, for agriculture generally, for production. I want this budget to be implemented. I want Kenyans to push the relevant authorities concerned, the ministries, even Parliament. I want to see Parliament calling on PSAs and calling on the CEOs of hospitals to see the budget we've passed, how is it helping Kenyans? We can't just be budgeting and budgeting every day. Kenyans want to know, yes, we budgeted, we give you our taxes. What are you doing on water? What are you doing on agriculture? What are you doing for us on healthcare? Kenyans must be vigilant, and Parliament must also be vigilant on ensuring that the budget we've passed is being implemented to the benefit of Kenyans.
And Parliament, what?
The Vodo free tethered shooting tools. Anytime, anywhere. Effortlessly connect your iPad wirelessly. Seamless tethering. Instant retouching. Boost your business with same-day edits.
Are paid. And for example, when we came here in 2013, this Parliament was looking like a madhouse.
It is beautiful now.
Now you've seen the facelift that happened here.
Yeah.
I mean, someone would say, why are you investing in Parliament? But Parliament is our foremost house of diplomacy. When presidents come here, when visitors come here, and they find a Parliament that is not well kept, then how does that reflect on us? And so Parliament has been given resources to ensure that this place looks like a Parliament. Yes. Number two, taking care of the staff of Parliament, taking care of parliamentarians. It is a cost on democracy that you cannot begrudge. And I believe that resources have been given to Parliament, I think it's about 30 billion shillings, will be used to make Parliament work more effective, make the public access Parliament more easily, and make our Parliament engage with the public also more easily.
One of the things that you can notice is the number of committees. 13th Parliament has more committees than the 12th Parliament.
Yeah.
And what many Kenyans don't understand is the role of these committees.
These committees mostly are for oversight. They're mostly to ensure that Kenyans are getting more than 300 reports to look at every year. To the level of 6-7 years reports or backlog of reports. Now, the disaggregation of PAC into education, into water sector, has ensured that PAC reports are now coming out more frequently. The same for PIC, Public Investment Committee. So the committees that have been formed to make Parliament work easier, more effective, and quicker. For example, if you're going to give counties money based on the last audited reports, then we must have a capacity of Parliament to look at those reports. And so if only one committee is looking at those reports, and there are 1,000 of them, then you can be sure they're going to lag behind. And so the committees have been formed to make Parliament work easier, make Parliament work more effective, make Parliament work more faster. And above all, the Parliament now has 349 members. And you want to have members doing their work more effectively. You know, if you put 30 members in a committee, you know, how effective is that committee? If you have a board of 10 people, 11 people, but if you have a board of 30 people, then it becomes a shouting house.
What is your assessment of the relationship between, as we wind up, your assessment of the relationship between the legislature and the executive with the Kenya Kwanza administration as a context?
I think for me, I would say it's been so uncomfortably cozy. Been so uncomfortably cozy. The Parliament this time has been too close to the executive, to a level that is comforting. I must say that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would wish for a more arm's length. You know, it's too cozy for my comfort. Person as David Ochieng.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That is Ugenya Member of Parliament David Ochieng giving us his insights into the highlights that is the budget 2026-2027, which will be presented before Parliament this afternoon. I'll have that. Thank you very much. And a lot of expectations.
Thank you.
Kenyans are expecting a lot from the Cabinet Secretary for Finance, who will be presenting that budget this afternoon, I think probably from 3 p.m. onwards. And just a quick highlight, education sector gets the lion's share of the budget, and that is at 781.4 billion shillings. Education remains the largest beneficiary of government funding. The key allocations include the 56.7 billion shillings for Higher Education Loans Board, that is HELB, and the 4.9 billion shillings to recruit some 20,000 intern teachers on permanent and pensionable terms. And there's also funding for universities, TVETs, and junior secondary schools and basic education programs. The allocation aims to improve access to quality education and support learners across all levels. The health sector is also in the highlights at 175.5 billion shillings. My colleague Kamche Menza has taken a breather. You were here for a very long time, Kamche. But what is coming out from my brief assessment is that this 4.8 trillion shillings is probably the beginning of great things for the country.
Indeed, from the conversations that we have had with Chair as well as the Director for the Parliamentary Budgets Office, because what I wanted to understand myself, of course I know this was a question that even Mwananchi out there was looking for answers to, regarding that particular budget, because you know it's an increase, right, from the previous financial year to this year. And basically what I picked from the two speakers is that there is a total of 1.5 trillion that will be going to the debt. Yeah. And then of course there was now the breakdown of now the other monies that will be used. How now the other monies will be used, including the monies that will be sent to the county governments. County governments initially had requested for, I know Kabasa, you are away, whether I think I should just bring you to speed on what has been happening within the corridors of Parliament. Of course, the National Assembly had initially proposed that county governments should get 420 billion for the next financial year, 2026-2027. And then when we went to the Senate proposed that the money needs to be increased to 454. And I can see that the next person you'll be hosting is the vice chairperson of the Budget Appropriations Committee, Senate. Yeah.
Yes. Senator Mutinda.
Senator Mutinda is coming up. So those are some of the issues that perhaps I'd like to understand. Why did they back, the money? The proposal was around 454. And then they came all the way, when they went for mediation, they came all the way down to 428. So Kabasa, perhaps as you engage the vice chairperson of budget and for Senate, maybe umuulize kwa nini walishuka sana from 454 to 4. But basically those are some of the highlights. Of course, Kenyans want to understand more and how the budget engagements are from the beginning of the financial year to the end. Remember, when it comes to August, of course, the country will start the preparations for the next financial year, the 2027-2028. So Kabasa.
Thank you very much, Kamche Menza. And I am going to be speaking to nominated Senator Tabitha Mutinda. She has a lot of things to say, especially the funding of counties. This has been a thorny issue all the way since 2013, and governors feel that a lot of the resources that are gathered nationally, a huge chunk of it should go to counties. And senators are also backing this proposal or this demand by governors that counties are not getting enough, and the central government needs to do more, provide counties with more. But the question is, how is this money being utilized in the counties? Because the Auditor General, in reports since 2013, has been raising queries that perhaps some of these monies that are being charged to the counties are not being utilized in the manner that they ought to. Karibu sana, Senator. You are live on Parliamentary Broadcasting Unit TV channel, on YouTube as well, and on Signet.
Yes.
We have the budget today.
Yes.
The Cabinet Secretary will be presenting a 4.8 trillion budget for the country.
Yes.
Are you excited or are you disappointed? Where do you stand?
I wouldn't say really either I'm excited or not, because for me the excitement is more when the output is visible. And I say like that because I speak as the Vice Chair of Finance and Budget. Yes. We've been part of this process, especially on our side, on the Senate side. Yesterday is when we were able to complete and pass Division of Revenue Bill with the 428 billion, the mediated version, because we had to do mediation. So with that completion on our side on Senate, that's how now the 4.8 in total trillion is. Yeah. But my excitement is when the output is visible and positive visibility. Yes.
Do you think the money to the counties will at some point get to 500 billion?
Yes, because you see, it's a constitutional mandate, which is 15% of revenue, national revenue for the counties. And so, yes, we believe that there will be maximization of revenue collection by the national government, and hence that will be able to also increase the allocation for the counties.
What?
Yes.
Now it's 428.
Yes.
How much would you have wanted counties to get?
Actually, our proposal from the beginning was 454 billion. And this was based on different factors, looking at the cost of inflation, okay? At the same time, looking at the SRC circulars that are already with the counties 2 years down the line, and the recurrent expenditure maintenance has been a challenge for the counties. We have the issues of the CHPs. You know, it's a shared budget between the national government and the county government. And so you find that the national government at times honors and the counties are a bit strained because of the challenges for funding. At the same time, you find that we have developments like the issues of the KIPES. NSSF was increased, and all these recurrent expenditures have been a bit of a tight for the counties. So with the 454 that we had earlier suggested, we felt that that should be able to be sufficient for them, at least to be able to ensure they are able to meet all their targets and their budgets, both the current and the developmental expenditure. But with the mediation, during the mediation process, we were able to put our case so much. National Assembly was able also to put their case, and the biggest issue was on the issue of debt. Which is over 2 trillion, and that's where the challenge was. So, yeah, we really had forth and back. It was extremely very tight. We had 7 sittings, and in the final sitting, we decided, okay, let's give them, let's agree to this 4.28 at this particular period, and then we look forward for next financial year, which we believe it will be more than 430 billion moving forward, or even more, or even 500. Who knows?
And I know that as senators, you work so hard to ensure that counties get their money and on time. What is your assessment of how this money is utilized in the counties?
Of course, we have seen in our oversight mandate, we have seen that there are loopholes. counties have, I mean, it's even been on media, whereby monies have been looted, and you ask yourself where this money is coming from. And we've done recommendations as Senate, different committees. So yes, I wouldn't say there are no loopholes. Loopholes are there, but you see, as per the law pertains, you know, our mandate we need to do our role, and our role is to ensure that counties have got their funding, and that's constitutionally. You know, they're not begging; it's in the constitution. So that is what we are here, and that's what we were able to achieve. So we have different stakeholders. We have the EACC, we have the ODPP, we have all these institutions. For us as Parliament is to do recommendations, which we've been able to do. The rest needs to be played by the other government bodies. So we've done our part. We have policies in place that we've said. So as far as legislation is concerned, we have done our part. What is important is to ensure that these monies are utilized in the right way. Yes, yes.
And politically, sorry, we have senators who are dreaming of being governors, and we have governors who are dreaming of being senators.
Yes.
This relationship is supposed to help legislation, and it's also supposed to help development in the counties. Is it working, really?
Yes, it is. There is no illegality in anybody having a dream. We also have ministers who want to be president. There's no problem. It's not an offense. It's anybody is entitled. Even you might decide today I want to be a senator. It is okay. It's fine. And you might be interviewing a senator or a governor. I mean, there's no problem. Like you are doing it right now with me. So these are normal ambitions, and they do not hinder the responsibility and the mandate. And actually, it's even good having a senator becoming a governor. There is maximum experience in it. When they settle, they know where they're coming from, how things are supposed to be done. They are more experienced, actually. We've seen whereby people have come from the corporate. Some have been able to achieve, some have not even, done it worse. So there's, it's anybody's normal ambition, and it's right. It doesn't hinder or interfere work. And I've seen actually those senators who want to be governors, they have really, really fought for more funding for those counties. I remember last year when we were doing the fourth basis formula, and we had to listen to the 12 counties who are getting the least amounts. And we came to a positive conclusion, you know. So it's actually a win-win subject, because we serve the same people at the end of the day.
You're a member of the Health Committee.
Yes, I am.
And 175.5 billion has been allocated to the health sector.
Yes.
Is it enough? And from your assessment, are we headed in the right direction? We have SHA, we have everything going on, USAID stopping, and now funding of programs such as HIV and AIDS is out of trouble.
I wouldn't say it's not enough, but it is something. We are last year's financial year 2025-2026, the allocation in the health ministry was 164 billion, and today it is 175, which is an increment of 12 billion. And this increment, I'm actually happy as a woman, because it's been factored as on the maternity section, neonatal section. That's where most of the budget has been increased, which is positive, so as to be able to manage the mortality issues and be able to improve the services for mother-child delivery. And so also the primary health care, you know, so budgets have been increased, and in that regard, more people are mostly within the accessibility of the dispensary levels. And you know, primary healthcare budget, Kenyans are supposed to get services for free at that particular level before we go to level 5, 4, 5, and even level 6. And also to encourage, the problem we have is that we have over 10 million Kenyans who have been registered for SHA, but only about 40% or 35% are the ones who are genuinely submitting their remittances for SHA. And that's where the challenge is, because most people, yes, they're registered, but a smaller number is the one which is remitting. So we've really encouraged the Ministry of Health through the SHA department to be able to ensure they sensitize more Kenyans to be able to do their submissions. And so with those increments, even in the education sector, we've seen there has been an increment of 28 billion. Most of the funds having gone to Teacher Service Commission, because we want to ensure that there are more teachers, so that we strengthen the CBC program. We've had a gap in the GSS category of our learners. So with those increments, we pray and hope that the ministries will be able to streamline, ensure also they offer adequate services to our people.
Okay. You're a first-time member of parliament.
Yes, first time.
I know you have learned so much.
Yes, I have.
And as we wind up,
yes,
what are some of the things that you would want to change, you know, between now and 2027, even
yes,
post 2027?
Honestly speaking, it's one.
When creativity and AI merge, every gap is gracefully bridged. Sub-projects, dual timeline editing, source and timeline preview editing, and your favorite features. Bilmora gives you the freedom.
As a woman rep Nairobi County, and I hope to even sit in the budget committee so that I can be able to continue fighting,
yes,
to ensure there is accountability and also budget cuts, you know, in areas that we can be able to save and whereby monies have been just spent for you know, luxuries and all that, these unnecessary conferences that do not add value.
All right.
Yes, yes.
Thank you very much.
Asante sana.
That is Senator Tabitha Mutinda giving us her insights into the budget that will be presented before the National Assembly this afternoon by Treasury Cabinet Secretary John Mbadi. And right now, joining me on the set will be Molo Member of Parliament, Kuri Kimani, who has a lot of knowledge as far as budgeting is concerned, and as far as finance matters are concerned. He has been central in pushing the Kenya Kwanza agenda as far as budget is concerned in Parliament. Thank you very much, Mheshimiwa. You are live on Parliamentary Broadcasting Unit, on YouTube as well, and on Bunge TV. This afternoon, what has got us here, and what has the process taken, and how should Kenyans take this 4.8 trillion that will be presented today?
First of all, the budget cycle is a long cycle. It doesn't just start here. It starts with a budget outlook paper that was published last year, and then now there is a budget policy statement that was approved by this House around April, and then there was sufficient or very elaborate public participation now on the budget, and that's why now today the Minister for the Cabinet Secretary for National Treasury is going to present the biggest budget in the history of the Republic of Kenya. And it's also important to note that this particular budget is a great improvement from last year's budget in terms of fiscal deficit, because although in nominal terms the budget the deficit is 1.1 trillion shillings, which is more than the fiscal deficit that we had in the last budget in terms of nominal terms. But in terms of a percentage of GDP, we are now at 5.4%, which is for 5.3%, which is 1.1 percentage points lower than what was the fiscal deficit last year at 6.4%. So we are seeing better management of the budget, because the budget should spur economic growth. So if you find that the increased budget is leading to a growth in GDP, and therefore that's why, even though there is a higher deficit in nominal terms, in terms of percentage of GDP, then it's actually lower at 5.3%. So it means that the fiscal consolidation efforts, it means that the budgets that now we are passing are actually spurring economic growth. Because to make it in simpler terms, it means that if the money allocated to roads actually go into roads, and that's why when those roads are done, then there is growth in terms of economy, in terms of GDP. And
a lot has been done, to be honest, and a lot is also being done in terms of infrastructure. Roads are being built, but to many Kenyans, the budget is just a long speech by a cabinet secretary, and then introducing taxes here and there. But to the critical audience, that Kenyan who knows where we were last year and where we are right now and where we are trying to go as a country, How should Kenyans approach this, this moment that Honorable Mbadi is going to have before Parliament this afternoon?
Budget means roads in connecting one village to another.
Yes.
The allocation of money for electricity connection boils down to that home in Molo, that home in Kapsita, getting electricity. Water being sent to roads means that Kenyans that are going to fetch dirty water in the river are now going to have clean water taps in their homes. This budget means that our students in JSS, our students in high school, our students in universities who are supported through capitation are going to get their money for capitation. It means that there are going to be more TVET institutions being built across the country. So the budget is not that 5.8 trillion shillings. Don't think about that. Think about the water projects in the villages. Think about electricity projects that are going to be done. Think about simple things as classrooms being built by national government, by CDF. Think about the 424 billion shillings that are going to support, that are going to, as a division of revenue to our counties. Now, it means recruiting ECD teachers in our counties. It means the feeding program, for example, that we've seen some governors implement for ECD kids across the counties. So the big number, it is now those numbers that form this big number of 4.8 trillion. But the budget is what runs our economy. It's what makes us safe in terms of allocation that go to security. It's the one that ensures we have enough police officers. It's what ensures that you can have your good night's sleep without being worried that you're going to be robbed at night. It means that you're able to walk along the street of Nairobi holding your phone because someone is not going to come and grab it. Those are measures, for example. That's what it means by allocation being sent to security. The allocations being sent, for example, for national intelligence. It means, remember a few years ago where we used to have terrorist attacks, and nowadays we haven't been having those terror threats. It's because we have now a very efficient national intelligence service, and it means that the resources that go into national intelligence service are actually working towards making sure that we have a proper intelligence service that informs and prevents crime before it happens, and you could tell, for example, how that has happened over the years.
And finance bill is coming before Parliament. There's going to be debate. We know how it has gone over the last 2 years, but there is a lot of misconception. And yesterday, Treasury came out with a document trying to simplify this thing, saying that we are not introducing new taxes. All we are trying to do is streamlining things. What should Kenyans look forward to? Are they going to be seeing a situation where members of Parliament are going to be debating and passing these amendments for their benefit in terms of PR, basically?
I want to guarantee you that we have done public participation in 15 counties. We are now at the process of considering our reports that I'll hopefully be able to table next week. And the views of Kenyans, I want to guarantee you, will be reflected in our reports. And even from the bill itself, if you scan through it, there is no introduction of new taxes. What there is better is improvement in our tax administration.
Yes.
And that's why even most of the proposals that you see are amendments to the Tax Procedures Act, because it's more procedure, because the way our tax administration has been happening is when you have now 20% of our Kenyan population paying 80% of our taxes. And that's what we're trying to correct, that deficit, to make sure that everyone pays their fair, and I mean their fair share of tax, not a shilling more and not a shilling less. Because if you all of us paying the right share of tax, then that we wouldn't have that burden being on some and not on others.
Yeah, and just to mention, like a brief example of what we mean. Definition of, for example, immovable property or drafting fix, that the word and is replaced with or, so that land, buildings, or rights of minerals each qualify separately as immovable property. For someone who has really read so much or who understands the budgeting process and then the Finance Act and whatnot, Kenyans are jittery, especially when you touch on their property. That am I going to be paying double tax or what is happening to my money?
There is no any double taxation that is being that is being introduced,
Yes.
and most of those clauses that you're seeing, deleting or and
Yes.
replacing with and, is more of simplifying the tax language, so that it is crystal clear
Yes.
what the law intended to do. And I think what we seem to be doing is overthinking about some of these provisions. But once I table my report to you, you'll see.
Yes.
And you'll see that we listen to the views of Kenyans, and you'll see that there is no introduction of new taxes. What we're doing is enhancing the tax administration to make sure that everyone pays their fair share of tax.
And let's talk of Gen Z and their understanding of the budget making process. They're very vocal. They're using social media to educate their colleagues about what is happening in the country. Are you happy that young Kenyans are talking?
You know, for the finance bill has been here since 1963.
Yes.
But it has only started being discussed during this administration. And so I pride myself as being chair of the finance committee to having carried out very active public participation on this administration being very open in terms of running of things. And so as a result, I am very happy to see discussions on Kenyans who have not necessarily studied economics or finance, explaining the difference between zero rating and tax exemption.
Yes.
That was a very technical topic in finance and in CPAs and in tax. And so we are seeing a more informed generation, we're seeing a more informed electorate, we're seeing a more informed Kenyan, and this is very good because it's also putting oversight on us as elected representatives, because it means that people now understand, these particular matters. I've seen people scan through the budget and say, this money is going here, this money is going here, this money is going to this project. And I've seen people now go to the actual project to audit and see, was this dam done? Was this stadium done? Was this project done? Was it completed? And that is what we need, because we can have, nobody knows it all.
Yes.
And even the efforts that even the president is making to make sure that all those projects he's launching are done, it's humanly not possible for him to be the one doing everything. And so even in terms of oversighting, whether it is our minister or our CSAs or PSAs or our governors, now it's not just MCAs and MPs who are oversighting them. We have now Kenyans oversighting everything. And I think that is a way to go to make sure that we reduce reduce corruption. There is value for money, and certainly that the investment that's going to that's being made in terms of our budget actually goes to the right thing.
And let me ask you, Mheshimiwa, there's always this notion that Parliament will always reduce an allocation that a ministry is requesting. Let's say, for example, the education ministry that has been given 781.4 billion. There's that feeling that a lot more needs to go towards the education sector. Is Parliament limiting how much ministry should get?
You see, we must, there's a fiscal framework we must operate on. If we have a budget of 4.8 trillion shillings, that is the ceiling, and this is the ceiling that we passed in our ceiling, then we can't increase it. And as you started by saying, it's a very huge budget. So if we want more allocation to go to education, then we need to cut other allocations.
Yes.
And you saw, for example, when he tried to cut the money that goes to counties, then we had Senate give a push and pull, and eventually that number reduced, increased a bit, but not as high as what the Senate had recommended, because Kenyans need roads, Kenya needs electricity connection, Kenya needs water connection, and then if we have, so although the education sector is important, and it's very important, but so is the other programs. They are also important, because if you don't build that road that leads to that school, then teachers are not going to get to school. Yes. Then those learners are not going to get to school. If we do not have electricity in that school, that means students are not going to be able to learn in the afternoon, in the evening. So although it is very important that we allocate that money to much more to education, but so is other sectors because they are enablers of the education system.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
very
much,
much, Mheshimiwa.
Asante.
Thank you very much. That is Honourable Member of Parliament Kuria Kimani giving us his insights into the budget that will be presented this afternoon by the Cabinet Secretary for Treasury, Honourable John Mbadi, who has been also a Member of Parliament. I'm going to wind up the business here, but the broadcast, the Parliamentary Broadcasting Unit is this afternoon, like it has always done, is going to be bringing you live the presentation of the 4.8 trillion shilling budget from 3 p.m. On behalf of the team here, my colleague Kamche Menza and our director Doris Gitonga, our bosses Steven Nyakuti and all the crew here. My name is Edward Kabasa. Keep watching and have yourself a wonderful afternoon.
Yes, from 3% to about 2.5%. We also revised our own outlook from 5.3% to 5% to GDP. And this is because of the global oil challenges that has caused us to do that revision. Yeah, but we are hopeful that if this oil crisis ends, then we foresee our economy growth projection. Yes.
Let me take you back to the 1 trillion is the deficit that domestic borrowing and foreign borrowing.
Yes.
From taxations, how much are you foreseeing to
we are projecting to raise about 2.9 trillion from as ordinary revenue. 2.9 trillion ordinary revenue. We also have appropriations in aid, which we are projecting to raise about 800 billion. And then we have some grants that we are likely to see with the course of the year, grants. That will total to about 3.67 trillion as total revenue that we are projecting to raise.
For this?
Yes.
Let's look at the ordinary revenue, 2.9 trillion for the next financial year.
Yes.
How much was for this financial
year? We haven't closed the year, but as at this last month, we are running at a shortfall of about 100 billion. Yeah, but when we spoke to KRA officers, they told us that we are going to have likely to have a windfall towards the end of the close of the financial year. If that windfall comes, then
the all-in-one video toolbox to convert, compress, edit videos, and much more.
out there that the plans that have been put in place now to raise revenue locally will not be the same as the ones that were there this financial year, because it reduced the taxations and all that. How are you going to balance mwananchi atakuamini vipi that you will not get into their pockets? How just try to
what I want to tell the ordinary wananchi is that this finance bill is focused on raising revenue from rich Kenyans and shielding the small wananchi.
with heavy burden of taxation. We are seeking, for example, to, first of all, take what is called tax exemptions.
Yeah.
Big people here, they have a way of getting away with tax exemptions. So we are also cutting those tax exemptions. So we are shielding the ordinary Mwananchi from heavy tax burden, but we are trying to get the rich people to pay taxes. Those who are able to pay taxes, we want them to pay.
Initially, you indicated that it's about 30%, 30 billion is getting lost from the exemptions, from the
About IMF and World Bank has projected that if we term tax exemptions, if we do away with all of them, we'll save 300 billion.
300 billion.
Yes.
300 billion is just from the tax exemptions.
If
Tuko na
we-
2.9 trillion yenye tunafaa tu.
No, I mean, 300 billion is the money that we lose because of tax exemptions. So imagine if we remove them, we'll increase our taxes by 300 billion. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Haya, tuseme that is just one of the ways that we are going to raise the revenue.
Of course, we have the normal taxation which is going on. The ordinary taxes that we are paying currently. Yeah, those ones are the ones that we are going to continue relying on because we are not adjusting taxes upward. So we rely on the existing taxes that we are paying today, and then we go and fight those other areas where there are tax leakages. The rich people are not paying taxes. We want to bring them to pay taxes.
Okay.
Those ones now there will be no. We are not introducing new taxes in a nutshell. Yeah, so let's get people who are not paying to pay, and then we will be able to collect more.
Yeah,
Yes.
because it is a time when the Kenyan mwananchi mfuko wake umebanika and they are seeing an
Yes,
increase.
it is. That is true. Introduce what is called the oil inflation. Oil inflation is one of the most vicious inflation that we are struggling to manage. I am happy that the food inflation has been managed. You have seen that the food prices have not gone up.
Yep.
Because we have enough food in our economy. So as long as we are able to produce more food in our economy, I think Kenyans will be okay.
Will be okay.
Yeah, but we are also, as I told you, we are also seeking to increase credit flow to private sector so that Kenyans can be able to have more money in their pockets. Payment of pending bills has been given a priority. As we talk, there is no pending bill in the road sector. We have pending bills in other sectors, which we are seeking to pay off in this coming year. I think we have an allocation for payment of pending bills in the other sectors.
Yeah, because
So we are managing them progressively, and I can assure Kenyans that if they give us the support that we are asking from them, we are going to get them out of the economic difficulties that they are facing.
There is the issue of debt as well. That is also something that has been factored in the budget, in the 4.8 trillion, 4.81 trillion Kenyan shillings. So if this money has increased from the last financial year, and you've said there is also the issue of borrowing, how do you explain to mwananchi wa kawaida kwamba this budget will not keep increasing in the
Thank you. The process of managing our debt will not involve the ordinary people, ordinary mwananchi paying more.
Okay.
Yeah, we will not increase taxes to pay the debt. Within the framework of the budget, which I've explained to you, and the things we put in place to realize more revenue, those revenues, when we realize them, we will use them to manage the debt. But we will not go to Kenyans with specific, new specific taxes to help us manage the debt. We are going to manage within the framework of the budget process. Yes.
So is our debt then sustainable at this?
It is. Our debt is sustainable. In fact, if the debt was not sustainable, then our development partners will not continue to give us debt. As we talk, our development partners are supporting us. IMF and World Bank, they are supporting us. And so our debt is sustainable. And also to know that our debt is sustainable, you look at the revenue projection vis-a-vis the expenditure. If there's a deficit, if the revenue projection is less than the expenditures, then you minus debt, then the debt becomes unsustainable. But what we call primary, the difference between the total expenditures and the total revenues, we have a surplus. That shows that our debt is manageable. Yes.
So we understand that one of the ways to contain the fiscal, is it the fiscal deficit or something, is either to reduce reduce on revenue or a cut on expenditure. Which one? Which one is our country majorly gearing towards?
We have not been able. Because reducing expenditure. Okay, let me first say that our budget is very inflexible. That, for example, to reduce our recurrent expenditure, it will involve, retrenching employees.
Okay.
But the largest component of our pay is teachers, the military, the police. These are people you cannot retrench. You can't retrench the police, you can't retrench the army, you can't retrench the teachers. So that's how our budget is very inflexible. And that is why we have not gone the route of those austerity measures that some people are talking about. The other votes like security. Again, resources that we need to fund the police, we cannot cut those ones because we cannot expose our country. If there's a leak that we are cutting our security vote, you know how the country will be exposed. So then also development, we have to fund. Yeah, we have to continue to develop so that we can expand the economy. I saw the opposition saying that they can cut the budget. They cannot cut the budget. If they come, I will tell them they cannot cut the budget. Yeah, because it is very inflexible. Yes.
But cutting the budget as well. How much are we going to spend from the 4.81 trillion on debt? Let's say.
From 4.8 trillion, we are going to spend 1.5 trillion on debt. Yes, 1.5 trillion on debt.
So actually that leaves even less than 4.81 trillion on even the other businesses that the country needs.
Yeah,
to
so out of 4.8 trillion you can add 1 trillion is going to be spent on payment of salaries to government employees. 800 billion is going to be spent on education. 500 billion is going to be transfers to counties. That is 4.8 billion as county share allocations. And another 70 billion as conditional grants to counties. You are going to spend another $500 million on security alone, both interior and domestic security and defense. You are going to spend another 50 billion as parliament. You are going to spend another 30 billion in judiciary.
Yes.
You are going to spend, when you add those ones, you still have a net. You still have a net.
Yeah. Okay.
And of course development. Then you add the borrowing.
All right.
Yeah, so that's how our budget is inflexible.
As the chair, you've managed to reduce the number of supplementary budgets that have been coming to Parliament. How perhaps have you been able to do that? Are we also likely maybe to see one supplementary budget the next financial year, or have you tried to fill the loopholes that maybe
our intention is that we should never have these supplementary estimates because they undermine the integrity of our budgeting system. And in fact, our development partners are not happy with the supplementary estimates. I am happy that in this financial year, we have only been able to do one supplementary budget. I'm not sure if there will be another.
Investment and asset management together with ESG planning, economic planning. Then Governor Central Bank together with Commissioner General KRA our National Treasury Director Generals step forward. Then all heads of department, national treasury directors.
Kami omnya. Tapi kalau mungkin pola tanwa driver. Tapi mungkin pola tanwa kerebe. Toma. Lagi ni kamu aja. Kakak gini. Ya alatan anda.
After the photo shoot, proceeding to Parliament led by the chief guest, and be shortly asking Mr. Ondeng to escort our CS to his funeral. After the photo shoot.
So, sitaki mtu mwingine. Sawa? Sitaki watu wengi wewe huyu peke yake. Kuna vile iko. Yan kare. Lakini mtu mwingine asikie. Sawa. Matul. Sawa. Matul lanjia kayak. Boleh mesti cek. Maka. Tadi. Weh, mtu mwingine asipande.
Godo songa.
Weh, bos.
Toka.
Acha hiyo.
Binti twende mbele. Jaze sana mkari.
Mtachome. Wewe mtu boss. Inabidi umeshuka. Sawa. Sasa nimekaa.
Make sure each minute communication iende. Haya, isonge vile isonge tu. Sasa tena maji ni
today is broken. We're all working in too many disconnected apps, and it's killing team productivity. But for the first time, there's a platform that fixes it by combining everything you need: projects, chat, and knowledge in one place. It's all powered by the world's most complete work AI, so you can find answers from anywhere and get work done faster. Introducing ClickUp, the everything app for work.
Miguel.
can't just look at 1 year only. The entire perspective of 3 years must be taken into consideration from the point of reviewing and looking at the outlook for the following financial years.
Okay, there is a question that I posed to the Chair Appropriations, Budget and Appropriations Committee regarding the rise in the budget for the next financial year.
Yes.
Last year.
Yoko.
Wewe relax bwana, wacha kuniita kama relax.
Unajua kila mtu mkubwa. Kila mtu ni mkubwa hapa.
National Treasury DGs.
Mtanisaidia David? Mtanisaidia kukaa chini? Mtanisaidia.
Uzuri ama tukitoka hapa
tunasomea kuongea. Kama mtanisaidia kukaa chini. Hamna option. Nakaa chini.
The rest of the directors
ni basa. Asipoipiana na yeye.
Things among them, the definition of terms, such as the immovable property, drafting bill, and the word "and" is replaced with "or", so that land, buildings, or rights over minerals each qualify separately as immovable property. No new tax. It also removes the drafting ambiguity and ends potential disputes. This is contained in the finance bill, which will be debated in the coming days after the Treasury Cabinet Secretary has presented the budget before the National Assembly this afternoon. The card transaction fees now taxable. These are some of the provisions contained in the finance bill. The taxing of card transaction fees is meant to ensure fairness, that all finance services providers treated the same way. And software royalty loophole closed. This is also in the provision. This is under the income tax, that not a new tax on consumers. It targets income earned in Kenya by developers. That is the software royalty loophole, which has been closed. And clause 2 and 17 of the finance bill touches on betting and gaming. 20% withholding on winnings. Withholding tax on winnings is reinstated at 20%. The definition of quote-unquote withdrawals now covers land-based casinos and manual betting, not just online platforms. The import of this is that it levels the playing field between online and physical betting. And gratuity taxation exemption conditions clarified. The gratuity is exempt from income tax only where the employment contract ran for at least 3 years and the gratuity does not exceed 31% of the basic salary. It targets genuine long service rewards. No change for employees who qualify. Another clarification contained, perhaps that Kenyans need to understand as far as the finance bill is concerned, the foreign landlords simplified tax framework. Non-residents earning Kenyan rental income must register and self-account for tax unless they use a local property agent. The 7.5% rental income tax rate for residents is unchanged. It affects foreign landlords only and closes an enforcement gap. This is under clause 4. Under clause 6, shipping tax, clearer payment rules. Withholding tax on shipping is removed. Instead, resident shipping agents must pay tax within 5 days of receiving payment or before the ship leaves port, whichever is earlier. No new tax here, simpler and more efficient collection.
And also in the bill at clause 8, it talks about trust taxation, which has been simplified. Trust income is taxed once at trust level and not again when distributed to beneficiaries, replacing a complex and confusing dual taxation framework. No taxes, no new taxes here, and it eliminates risk of double taxation.
Mr. Speaker!
If you're just joining us, watching live pictures from the National Assembly chambers, a big day in the calendar of Parliament where the Treasury Cabinet Secretary is expected to read the budget before the National Assembly this afternoon. Here is the Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Moses Masika Wetangula, walking into the chambers to oversee the business of the National Assembly this afternoon. My name is Edward Kabasa. I now hand you over for this live broadcast of the National Assembly proceedings.
Waheshimiwa, tuombe. Ewe Mwenyezi Mungu ambaye kwa hekima na wema wako umetoa nyadhifa za viongozi na mabunge kwa ustawi wa jamii na utawala wa haki wa wanadamu, tukusihi utazame kwa neema nyingi sisi watumishi wako ambao wameridhika kutuita tutekeleze shughuli muhimu za jamhuri yetu. Tunakuomba uteremshie baraka zako sisi tuliokutanika hapa na utujalie tuyatende na kufikiria mambo yote atakayofikishwa mbele yetu kwa njia ya haki na uaminifu, ili utukufu na sifa zako siendelezwe na ili kustawisha amani, ufanisi na heri ya nchi yetu na wale ambao haja zao umezikabidhi mikononi mwetu. Amen. We have quorum. We have quorum. Honorable members, I have a communication on the appointment of additional senators to the Mediation Committee on the Cooperative Bill, National Assembly Bill number 7 of 2024. Honorable members, you recall that on Tuesday, 9th June 2026, I notified the House of the appointment of 5 senators to the Mediation Committee on the Cooperative Bill, National Assembly Bill number 7 of 2024. I wish to inform the House of the appointment of 4 additional senators to the said Mediation Committee. They are Senator Daniel Kitonga Manzo MP, Senator Professor Margaret Jepkoech Kamar EJH MP, Senator Hamida Ali Kibwana MP, and Senator Betty Batuli Montet MP. Honorable members, the appointment of the additional senators brings the Senate representation in the said Mediation Committee to parity with that of the National Assembly appointed on 22nd April 2026. The committee is now fully constituted in terms of Article 113 of the Constitution and may commence the mediation process on the bill in earnest. The House is accordingly informed. Thank you. Next. Next.
Order number 3, messages. Order number 4, petitions.
Members on their feet, take your seats. Further, Standing Order 2252B requires the Standing Order 2252B requires the Speaker to report to the House any petition other than those presented by a member. In this regard, honorable members, I wish to report that my office has received a petition from Mr. Emmanuel Kelly Ojo, identification number 2607, calling for the establishment of a national police firearms digital detection and tracking system. Honorable members, while the petition acknowledges the provisions of Article 243 and 244 regarding establishment and functions of the National Police Service in the Constitution of Kenya, the petitioner is concerned that several security incidents, including attack on police posts and stations in some parts of the country, where officers who were reportedly ambushed and firearms forcefully taken, has exposed vulnerabilities in current firearm storage, monitoring, and rapid response systems. Honorable members, the petitioner contends that the theft or unauthorized removal of police firearms places police officers at heightened operational risk, endangers civilians, and undermines public confidence in national security institutions. The petition observes that the firearm issuance and armory management systems in many police stations remain largely manual and lack immediate electronic detection mechanisms capable of flagging unauthorized removal or tampering in real time. Further, the petitioner notes that there is presently no mandatory nationwide encrypted and automated alert system that instantly notifies command structures upon irregular firearm movement, thereby delaying rapid response and recovery efforts. Honorable members, the petitioner therefore prays that the National Assembly intervenes to amend the National Police Service Act, the Firearms Act, and related legislation to establish a secure national digital firearms detection and tracking system within the National Police Service. This, the petition asserts, must include biometric controlled smart armories, encrypted real-time tracking and alert mechanisms, safeguards for operational confidentiality, dedicated budgetary support and statutory protections to ensure officers are not unfairly held liable for systemic technological failures. Honorable members, having established that the matters raised in the petition fall within the authority of this House and that they are not pending before any court of law or constitutional body, I hereby commit the petition to the Public Petitions Committee for consideration pursuant to the standing orders of the House. The committee is required to consider the petition and report its findings to the House and the petitioner in accordance with Standing Order 2272. I thank you. Yes, KJ?
I thank you, Mr. Speaker, because our standing orders do allow for comments to petitions. And Mr. Speaker, what has been brought forward, though it goes to the petition committee, it also does involve the committee led by Honorable Tongoyo, and it also speaks to some issues in the Committee for Communication. That today's technology, Mr. Speaker, allows for effective tracking, and we must thank the petitioner for bringing this to the House. And Mr. Speaker, it is to request your office to allow for some engagement with the Committee on Communication and also some engagement with the Committee for Internal Security, led by Honorable Tongoyo, so that we may be able to put our word on this petition. But Mr. Speaker, Dagoretti South, having suffered some brunt of this theft of police equipment and attack on police stations, also sees some input, some interest in this petition, Mr. Speaker, and we must thank the petitioner, even as this goes to the petition committee. It is a new world, Mr. Speaker. It is requiring for us to make use of available technology, even in public policing and in security. So, Mr. Speaker, we must thank the petitioner for this petition, and I hope that my committee and that committee of Honorable Tongoyo shall be involved in prosecuting this petition. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Yes, Milemba.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. That petition will grow that space of security, especially the issue of firearm movement. And the petitioner, as I thank him, he has opted to talk about one side of it where the policemen will lose the firearms because they have been attacked, like the examples he has already given. But there are situations whereby the policemen themselves could hire out guns and firearms illegally for criminal activities, something that has been spoken to several times. I think this is a very good petition, and therefore both the committees that have been given that opportunity to look at it should be careful to develop it in such a way that it brings a law which can digitize movement of firearms from both police stations, police posts, and any other spaces where we have firearms. And this will go a long way in making sure that firearms are with the correct people and they can be tracked anytime. Honorable Speaker, yesterday I was at Kenyatta National Hospital and I noticed they have digitized everything. They can see the money movement, the movement of patients, and virtually everything is now digital. I think this is one space where the Ministry of Interior can actually use this leverage to make sure that we can track the movement of firearms and even later the bullets. And that will really save us a lot of trouble. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Order, honorable members. I agree with KJ and Milemba. Majority Leader, you'll look at this petition, and I direct that you find a way of fusing the committees of ICT, Security, and the Petitions Committee to look at it and see how you can engineer some legislation. It makes a lot of sense. Next order.
Order number 5, papers.
Chairperson, Committee on Members' Services and Facilities.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg you to lay the following paper on the table of the House today, Thursday, 11th June 2026. Report of the Committee on Member Services and Facilities on its inspection visits.
Save time creating content and generate a high-quality clone of your voice with 11 Labs. Change the way you record podcasts, voiceovers, and branded content with the #1 AI-powered voice generating technology. Stop searching for the perfect voice and stop wasting time re-recording take after take. Try 11 Labs for free and start elevating your content today.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to give notice of the following motion, that this House adopts the report of Committee on Member Services and Facilities on inspection visits in constituency offices in Nakuru County, laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 11th June 2026.
Thank you. Next.
Order number 7, questions and statements.
Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The usual Thursday statement on behalf of the House Business Committee, pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 44.2a, I rise to present the following statement. Honorable Speaker, the House Business Committee met on Tuesday, 9th June 2026 to prioritize business for consideration during the week and the business coming before the House in the following week. Honorable Speaker, as members may have noticed from the order paper today, the House Business Committee approved very light business for the sitting. This is intended to allow the Cabinet Secretary for the National Treasury and Economic Planning, Honorable FCPA, John Mbadi, EGH, to make a public pronouncement of the budget highlights and revenue-raising measures for the national government for the financial year 2026-2027, commencing at 3 p.m. Honorable Speaker, with regard to business scheduled for Tuesday next week, the House is expected to undertake the following business. 1, the second reading of the following bills. 1 is Appropriation Bill of 2026. 2 is a Finance Bill of 2026, if public participation will have been concluded on this bill. 3 is a Sovereign Wealth Fund Bill of 2026. 4 is the Central Bank of Kenya Amendment Bill of 2026. 5 is the Kenya Revenue Authority Amendment Bill of 2026. 6 is the Plant Protection Bill of 2025. And 7, the Competition Amendment Bill of 2026. And just to remind the Chair Finance and the Chair Agriculture that we are still waiting for them to table the reports of those two bills. That's the Plant Protection Bill from the Chair Agriculture and the Competition Amendment Bill from the Chair Finance. Two, Honorable Speaker, there will be committee of the whole House on the following bills. The consultations were coming from the corner where the Honorable Mwengi Mutusa is seated. And when there's a cabinet secretary or cabinet secretaries in the House, you never know what Mwengi Mutusa could be planning. Honorable Speaker, I was on the committee of the whole House on the following bills. 1 is the Appropriation Bill of 2026, and 2, the Fisheries Management and Development Bill of 2023. Honorable Speaker, debate will also be undertaken on the following motions. 1, report on inspection visit to the East African Science and Technology Commission and the East African Health Research Commission. 2 is report of the Kenya delegation to the 151st Assembly of the Interparliamentary Union, IPU, and related meetings. 3 is a second report on the status of reports on petitions and resolutions. 4, report on consideration of a petition regarding the proposal to amend the Consumer Protection Act. 5 is report on the audited financial statements of selected state corporations in the roads and transport sector. And 6 is the 8th report on audited financial statements of 6 state corporations. In conclusion, Honorable Speaker, the House business shall reconvene again on Tuesday, 16th June 2026 to schedule business for the rest of the week. I now wish to lay this statement on the table, Honorable Speaker, and as I've indicated, Honorable Speaker, today the House business had approved. Within the next 10 minutes, the Cabinet Secretary for the National Treasury and Economic Planning, the Honorable FCPA John Mbadi, EGH, to make his pronouncement on the budget highlights and revenue-raising measures for the national government for the next financial year. Honorable Speaker, I'm re-emphasizing that, Honorable Speaker, because I know, Honorable Speaker, you are a senior counsel. And your predecessor, the Honorable J.B. Muturi, was not a senior counsel. But I know also the former Vice President, Kalonzo Musyoka, is said to be a senior counsel. And I saw them yesterday, Honorable Speaker, purport together with other people out there, that the Cabinet Secretary was coming to read out the budget. You know, Honorable Speaker, I wondered, least of all, I can forgive Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka. because the last time you held public office was under the old constitution. And therefore, you're still living in the past of the old constitution, where cabinet secretaries would come and read budgets to the country. But for the Honorable J.B. Muturi, my friend, who sat in your place as a speaker, under this new constitution, and knows very well that the cabinet secretary does not come here to read any budget. We have in fact concluded with the budget estimates. All that remains is for us to consider the appropriation bill that I've just read here, which we will consider next week. And all the cabinet secretary is coming to do is to come and give his public pronouncement or his statement on budget highlights and revenue-raising measures. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, I would urge the country to forgive these people. In their confusion, they are still living in the past. That is why, Honorable Speaker, we tell them, if you live in the past, you cannot forge or fashion an agenda to move the country forward. As we welcome the Cabinet Secretary, I took liberty, Honorable Speaker, to inform those confused leaders out there to stop living in the past, to come to the present world under the new constitution, where Parliament and indeed the National Assembly is the one with the power of the past. Finally, Honorable Speaker, because I have listened to them, in their desperation, they are all telling the country, let us reject the finance bill. None of them has come out to tell Kenyans what particular clause in the finance bill do you have a problem with. But unlike in 2024, Honorable Speaker, when Kenyans largely did not understand that following public participation, a report will be tabled here by the chair of the Finance and National Planning Committee, and many of the concerns that Kenyans have raised, they can wait for that report next week, and they will see the Finance and National Planning Committee has taken into account the concerns of the people of Kenya. And we shall amend the finance bill and pass a finance bill that is in the best interest of the people of Kenya and not to serve the political interests of those confused people who don't even know whether we are reading budgets or making public pronouncements. Honorable Speaker, thank you for that.
Next, 2 minutes or 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, I wish to add my voice to what the majority leader said. Mr. Speaker, I know we are in the era of misinformation and disinformation. But Mr. Speaker, when that misinformation is coming from high level, senior members of the society, some of them who have been speakers in this house, Mr. Speaker, then it is worrying. Mr. Speaker, I heard the former speaker saying this is the first time a budget is being read when the president is not around. The last president who attended this house when we were reading budget was Mwai Kibaki, Mr. Speaker. Under the old constitution. Looks like these people don't know what's happening in the country, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I think they have no agenda to tell Kenya, so they are scavenging for anything. Even when the president travels is a problem to them, there's a minister in charge of treasury who should come to the house and read the budget, not the president, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, secondly, who is an expert? Mr. Speaker, secondly, they have spoken about the finance bill. First, they said that the finance bill has a clause that says all freehold titles will be changed to leasehold titles. That lie has been demystified. Now they have nothing else to say. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, I want to remind the House and Kenyans that the person who is coming to read the estimates today is the former chairman of ODM. Can you repeat after me? ODM. Can you repeat after me? ODM. Thank you very much.
Order, honorable members. Order. Junet, you are out of order for conducting an illegal choir on the floor of the House. Honorable members, order. 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 Honorable members, for avoidance of doubt, the point made by Honorable Junet and Honorable Ichungwa, the President of the country is under no obligation to attend Parliament on the day when the Cabinet Secretary for Treasury and Planning comes not to read a budget, but to make a statement and give to the country his revenue-raising measures. Indeed, if the president chose to come, which he can, he will sit in the speaker's row. He will not sit where I'm sitting, where he comes to sit to address the House. So there is no such thing as a crisis because the president is out of the country. Budget is a preserve and an activity of National Assembly, exclusively. Exclusively. Next order.
Order number 8, motion. Report of the Committee of the Whole House on its consideration of the Agricultural and Livestock Extension Services Bill, Senate Bill number 12 of 2022. Question to be put and that reading.
Members on their feet, take your seats. Honorable Kainan, take your seat. Honorable members, Honorable Muliro. Honorable members, I'll now put the question at order number 8, which is that this House do agree with the report of the Committee of the Whole House on its consideration of the Agricultural and Livestock Extension Services Bill, Senate Bill number 12 of 2022. As members of that opinion say aye. Aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Mover. Justice Kemei, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of the Chairman of the Agriculture Committee, I beg to move that the Agricultural and Livestock Extension Bill, Senate Bill number 12 of 2022, be now read a third time. I also request Honorable Susan Ngugi to second. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Susan.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I second.
Thank you. Members on their feet, Ndengu, take your seat. Honorable members, I now propose the question at order number 8, which is that the Agricultural and Livestock Extension Bill, Senate Bill number 12 of 2022, be now read a third time. Do I put the question? Honorable members, I now put the question at order number 8, which is that the Agricultural and Livestock Extension Bill, Senate Bill number 12 of 2022, be now read a third time. As members of that opinion say aye. Aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
A bill for an act of parliament to provide for agricultural and livestock extension services, establish the agricultural and extension service, and for connected purposes.
Majority Leader, is now 3 o'clock. Will you search, find, and bring to the chamber the CS for National Treasury and Planning? Yes, order. Majority Leader.
Honorable Speaker, as you directed, I did not have to search for the minister. He was well within the principles of Parliament and on time. Honorable Speaker, it is now my pleasure and honor to present to the House and to the country, and to yourself, Honorable Speaker, the Minister for the National Treasury and Planning, FCPA, John Mbadi, expert.
Hold on, Minister. Take your seat. Honorable members, I have a short communication in relation to this agenda on order paper. Honorable members, as you are aware, the Cabinet Secretary for the National Treasury and Economic Planning is to make the public pronouncement of the budget highlights and revenue-raising measures for the national government for the financial year 2026-27 and the medium term during this afternoon sitting. In this regard, and in accordance with the standing orders, I have designated a suitable place in the chamber for that purpose. Honorable members, it is in the tradition of this House to recognize invited guests seated in the galleries of our hallowed chamber. I therefore wish to recognize the presence of the following members of the Cabinet: Honorable Kipchumba Murkomen, EGH, Cabinet Secretary for Interior and National Administration; Honorable Geoffrey Ruku, Cabinet Secretary for Public Service, Human and Capital Development; and Urban Development; Honorable Aden Duale, EGH, Cabinet Secretary for Health and Majority Leader Emeritus of this House; Honorable Julius Migos Ogamba, EPS, Cabinet Secretary for Education; Honorable Mutai Kagwe, EGH, Cabinet Secretary for Agriculture, Livestock Development, a former colleague of mine in the Senate and my yearmate at the University of Nairobi; the Honorable Salim Mvuria, EGH, Cabinet Secretary for Youth Affairs and Sports; the Honorable Opio Wandai, EGH, Cabinet Secretary for Energy and Petroleum and Minority Leader Emeritus of this House; Mrs. Hannah Wendot Cheptumo, Cabinet Secretary for Gender, Culture and Arts and Heritage; Honorable Dorcas Oduor, Senior Counsel, EGH, the Attorney General; Mrs. Mercy Wanjau, EGH, Secretary to the Cabinet. Honorable members, I also acknowledge all Principal Secretaries and the accompanying officials. I accord special recognition to the Principal Secretaries for the National Treasury and Economic Planning, Dr. Chris Kipto, CBS, Mr. Cyril Odede, and Dr. Boniface Makoha, who work closely with the Cabinet Secretary for the National Treasury and Economic Planning. Honorable members, we are also joined by the following judges of the Superior Courts: Honorable Justice Hilary Chemitei, Judge of the High Court; Honorable Justice Mohamed Kulo, Judge of the Environment and Land Court; Honorable Justice Onesimus Macau, Judge of the Employment and Labor Relations Courts. They are accompanied by the Deputy Chief Registrar of the Judiciary, Mr. Paul Ndemo, OGW. I also wish honorable members to recognize the heads and members of the constitutional commissions and independent officers, as well as the leadership of state corporations who are in attendance. I further wish to recognize the distinguished members of the diplomatic corps and who have graciously joined us for this event. I also acknowledge the presence of the chairperson of the Council of Governors, His Excellency FCPA Ahmed Abdullahi, EGH, Governor of Wajir County. Honorable members, on behalf of the House, I extend a warm welcome to all our invited guests. The National Assembly is honored by your presence on this auspicious occasion. Your continued partnership and support to the work of Parliament is duly noted and valued. Honourable members, I now interrupt the business of the House to allow Honourable FCPA John Mbadi, EGH, the Cabinet Secretary for the National Treasury and Economic Planning, also former leader of the minority party in the National Assembly, to make public pronouncement of the budget highlights and revenue-raising measures for the national government for the financial year 2026-2027 and the medium term. The Cabinet Secretary for the National Treasury, Honorable FCPA John Mbadi, EGH, you may now proceed with your afternoon job.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker and honorable members of the 13th Parliament of the Republic of Kenya. Mr. Speaker, it is my honor and privilege to present to this august House and to the people of Kenya the budget statement for the financial year 2026-2027. I make this statement in fulfillment of the requirements of Section 40 of the Public Finance Management Act, Cap 412A, and Standing Order number 241 of the National Assembly. Mr. Speaker and honorable members, this is the first budget since the passing of the late Right Honorable His Excellency Raila Amolo Odinga, who is fondly remembered as a patriot and national hero, and who steadfastly championed economic justice, democracy, and equal opportunity for all Kenyans. His legacy continues to inspire and guide us as we transform Kenya into a newly industrialized and middle-income economy. In honor of his immense contribution to our country, I would politely request and invite members of this esteemed House to observe a moment of silence, which will take 1 minute.
Members, be upstanding. Guests in the galleries, be upstanding.
Thank you very much. Mr. Speaker, the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga was a key partner to His Excellency the President, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, in the broad-based arrangement. Mr. Speaker, this budget captures the ideals of the two great leaders, especially on the aspiration to transform our economy from its current status to a more developed nation status, a path to Canaan through Singapore. The extensive public participation throughout the budget process presents a solid basis and foundation for what is clearly the people's budget. Mr. Speaker, public participation is a constitutional imperative. In compliance with this requirement, I personally led extensive public engagements with Kenyans from across the country in the last 1 year. This was meant to get their views and inputs to the budget that I am presenting today. For example, I met youth and business community, particularly boda operators, Juakali artisans, leadership of the Mitumba sector, and scrap metal dealers. I also engaged extensively with members of the Fourth Estate, and in the process, launched their Financial Journalists Association. Additionally, I traveled to various regions and conducted numerous regional dialogues. These include Kilifi in December 2025 for the Coastal Region Dialogue, Migori in Nyanza, Kakamega in Western, and Eldoret and Nakuru in Rift Valley regions in the month of January 2026. Mr. Speaker, In February 2026, I traveled to Kiambu and Meru counties, while in May 2026, I met the youth and the business community from Kajiado and Nairobi regions. The month of May and June 2026 have been very intense in terms of engagement. Mr. Speaker, besides these regional dialogues, I joined Bunge la Mwananchi community at Jivanji Gardens, Nairobi, and Gumzo la Uchumi, Mashinani, in Busia County for conversation with faith-based organizations in May 2026. I have also, on numerous occasions, appeared in a number of television stations expounding on what we are doing and what we intend to do as a government. Further, in the same month of May 2026, I returned to my alma mater, the University of Nairobi, where I had a dialogue with comrades at the Chandaria Auditorium. Mr. Speaker, in my engagements with Mwananchi, I walked into a couple of shops to directly engage with the mobile phone dealers on the proposed tax changes, that is excise duty on mobile phones. Additionally, last Thursday, 4th of June 2026, I joined a panel of eminent professionals on the Citizen Digital X-Space in unpacking the Finance Bill 2026. The eminent professionals included FCPA Professor Elizabeth Kalunda, the chairperson of Institute of Certified Public Accountants of Kenya, Mr. Fred Kimodo, Deloitte Tax Policy Lead, Mr. Raymond Mulenje, the Chief Executive Officer, Kenya Bankers Association, Mr. Tobias Alando, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Kenya Association of Manufacturers, and Mr. Kwame Owino, the Chief Executive Officer, Institute of Economic Affairs. A total of 15,847 Kenyans tuned in, while live listeners topped 14,249. Mr. Speaker, the message from Kenyans across the country, from our rural villages to our bustling towns and cities, the ordinary Mwananchi is clear and consistent in their messaging. They have genuine expectations from the government. Kenyans want an economy that works for them, an economy where the cost of living is manageable, where opportunities for employment and businesses are expanding, and where the benefits of economic growth are shared widely across society. Mr. Speaker, Wananchi want to see a government that listens to their concerns and responds with policies that promote opportunity, fairness, and prosperity. They want to see a government that protects their livelihoods, a government that supports farmers and small businesses, empowers the youth and women, and ensures that public resources are used prudently and transparently. Above all, the people of Kenya want assurance that their hard-earned taxes will translate into tangible improvements in their daily lives. Mr. Speaker, the main feedback from all these engagements was that the government should reduce the overall cost of living by lowering the tax burden on essential commodities, tame wastage of public resources, and decisively deal with corruption. Mr. Speaker, among the concerns and anxieties raised by Kenyans is the fear of potential outbreaks of infectious diseases, including Ebola, given the reported cases in some countries within the region. And so, Mr. Speaker, I wish to underscore that while Kenya is currently free of any confirmed Ebola virus disease, the government has activated the National Ebola Incident Management System to coordinate surveillance and response. Already, enhanced screening is taking place at all the points of entry, especially the airports and border points. The government has, in the meantime, trained over 1,000 health workers and put together a reserve team of 241 experts in epidemiology, laboratory services, and emergency response who remain on standby for rapid deployment. The government has also designated isolation and treatment facilities across the country, including at Kenyatta National Hospital and the National Police Service Hospital. The Ministry of Health is working closely with regional and international partners, including the World Health Organization, Africa CDC, IGAD, and the East African Community on this matter. Mr. Speaker, these efforts are further supported by our development partners. Already, the government of the United States of America has committed approximately US $13.5 million towards health security interventions, including disease surveillance and emergency preparedness. In addition, the World Bank has mobilized resources under the Regional Recovery and Resilience Operation program, which will support, among others, interventions in strengthening the health systems. Mr. Speaker, these resources, complemented by domestic budgetary allocations, will significantly enhance Kenyans' capability and capacity to prevent, detect, and respond to Ebola and other epidemic-prone diseases while safeguarding livelihoods and maintaining economic stability. Mr. Speaker and honorable members, this demonstrates that this government is listening and responding to the concerns of citizens. On other concerns Kenyans raised with me during the public engagements I highlighted above, I will be elaborating on intervention that the government is putting in place to cushion Kenyans and improve their livelihoods. Mr. Speaker, the budget for financial year 2026-2027 will prioritize various interventions under the bottom-up economic transformation agenda that promote private sector-led growth, expand employment opportunities, and enhance delivery of public services while preserving fiscal sustainability and building resilience against emerging economic challenges. Mr. Speaker, this budget is being presented at a time of heightened global uncertainty arising from the ongoing conflict in the Middle East. The conflict has disrupted global commodity markets and supply chains, weakened investor confidence, and tightened financial conditions. These developments have heightened risks to growth and inflation, increased pressure on public finances, and created uncertainty in global markets. For a developing economy such as Kenya, the impact is being felt through higher pump prices following a steep increase in global oil prices from an average of $63.06 per barrel in February 2026 to $94.4 per barrel by end of May 2026. In addition, tighter financing conditions, weakening export demand, slower investment flow, and rising cost of living continue to exert pressure on economic activities. Yet, even in this environment, new opportunities are emerging. Countries that strengthen competitiveness, deepen regional integration, and build resilient productive capacity will be the ones that will thrive. Mr. Speaker, it is against this backdrop that Kenya's economic journey over the past 3 years stands as a story of resilience. Difficult but necessary choices were made, delivering a steady recovery. Faced with significant domestic and external pressures and shocks, the government took difficult but necessary decisions to restore macroeconomic stability, strengthen public finances, and lay a firm foundation for sustainable growth. Mr. Speaker and honorable members, the hard decisions are bearing fruits. Under the bottom-up economic transformation agenda, we have recorded clear gains. First, the Kenyan economy has remained resilient and registered an average rate of 5% in the period of 2022 to 2025, outperforming the average global growth rate of 3.4% and that of sub-Saharan Africa of 4.1%. Importantly, macroeconomic stability has been preserved. Confidence in our economy has actually strengthened, and the foundation for sustained growth are now firmly in place. Macroeconomic fundamentals such as inflation and exchange rate have strongly rebounded and are projected to remain stable. Interest rates have declined, supporting growth in private sector credit from the banking industry. We have also accumulated the highest levels of official foreign exchange reserves of $13.2 billion, which is equivalent to 5.6 months of import cover by May 2026, providing adequate cover and a buffer against short-term domestic and external shocks. Mr. Speaker, let me mention some of the key achievements. Since the rollout of BETTER, or Bottom-Up Economic Transformation Agenda, the agriculture sector has registered key gains that include the following: reduced fertilizer costs through government subsidy programs, increased marketed agricultural production, expanded food security interventions, and strengthened farmer support services targeting both smallholder and commercial
My work is easy because I use ClickUp. Here's how AI makes complex work simple. With ClickUp Brain, I get AI updates on any project, so I don't have to dig through endless details. When I miss a meeting, Brain gives me a quick recap.
1.3 million bags in 2025 from, listen to this, 1.4 million bags disbursed in 2022. While the cost of a 50-kilogram bag of fertilizer declined from 7,500 shillings per bag to 2,500 shillings per bag. As a result of this, farmers realized estimated savings of approximately 105 billion shillings over a 2-year period, enabling increased investment in production. Agricultural production has increased significantly between 2022 and 2025. For example, maize production almost doubling to 67 million bags in 2025 from 34 million bags in 2022. While maize imports have declined substantially to 3.3 million bags from 9.9 million bags over the same period, reflecting improved domestic efficiency. The increased production contributed to a decline of retail prices of a 2-kilogram packet of maize flour from an average of 250 shillings to an average of 165 shillings over the same period. Paddy rice production also increased significantly to 303,724 metric tons in 2025 from 192,299 metric tons in 2022. To support expanded cultivation, the area under rice production in public irrigation schemes increased from 48,324 acres to 71,624 acres. Potato production increased to 2.5 million tons in 2025 from 1.8 million tons in 2022. And milk production increased to 5.5 million liters in 2025 from 4.6 million liters. Let me repeat that. Production of milk has increased from 5.5 billion liters in 2025 from 4.6 billion liters in 2022. The increased production has improved food security, reduced dependence on food imports, and contributed to more stable food prices and higher farmer incomes. Mr. Speaker and honorable members, farmers across the other sector, various value chains, have enhanced production and benefited from higher earnings. Tea production has grown to 550.4 million kilograms in 2025 from 535 million kilograms in 2022, while tea export earnings rose significantly to Kenya shillings 187 billion from Kenya shillings 163 billion over the same period. To support rehabilitation of aging plantations and expansion of coffee acreage, the government distributed coffee seedlings progressively across the years, including 85,000 seedlings distributed in the financial year of 23-24, 809,000 seedlings in financial year 2024-2025, and 3,127,769 seedlings in financial year 2025-2026, and a further 2,242,769 coffee seedlings under the March to May 2026 long-range program. As a result of these interventions, the area under coffee has increased from 115,500 hectares in 2025 from 109,385 hectares in 2022. In the edible oils industry or sector, the area under edible crops increased significantly to 114,350 hectares in 2025 from 60,000 hectares in 2022. reflecting growing farmer participation and investment in the subsector. Further, Mr. Speaker, interventions under the sugar sector has led to significant growth in both cane production and processing capacity, with the area under sugarcane cultivation increasing by 19.4% and the national sugar production rising to 815,454 metric tons in 2024 from 472,773 metric tons in 2022. Mr. Speaker, having spoken about agriculture, and you can see the kind of improvement that has taken place in agriculture, let me now turn to healthcare. Access to healthcare has expanded substantially through far-reaching reforms aimed at strengthening primary healthcare, improving service delivery, and ensuring sustainable health financing. A total of 31.2 million Kenyans are now registered under the Social Health Authority, compared to about 8 million under the defunct National Hospital Insurance Fund, while 228 primary care networks have been established and operationalized. A total of 107,831 community health promoters have been recruited and trained, while 16,810 medical interns have undergone internship, bringing healthcare services closer to communities. Mr. Speaker, the government recognizes the critical role the contracted healthcare facilities play in the delivery of healthcare services to Kenyans. It is with this in mind that the government in the current financial year of 25-26 allocated 4 billion for settlement of outstanding National Hospital Insurance Fund pending bills. And going forward, we will settle the balance of the bills that are owed under the defunct National Hospital Insurance Fund and which span over the years. Mr. Speaker, this allocation is specifically designated for settlement of NHIF pending bills owed to contracted health care facilities in accordance with the presidential directive that prioritized the clearance of outstanding obligations for facilities with claims not exceeding 10 million shillings. The claims earmarked for settlement under this allocation have been duly verified and adjudicated and will be fully paid before the close of this financial year, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the government will subsequently prioritize payment of the outstanding claims exceeding the 10 million threshold once verified in the next budget. Mr. Speaker, the government has accelerated implementation of the Affordable Housing Program to address Kenya's housing deficit, create jobs, stimulate local manufacturing, support MSMEs, strengthen county economies, and improve the quality of life for millions of Kenyans. Mr. Speaker, through the program, number one, a total of 277,281 housing units have been completed or are under implementation nationwide as at May 2026. Two, the program has also successfully aggregated demand through the Boma Yangu platform, where more than 1 million Kenyans have registered their interest in home ownership, demonstrating both the scale of housing demand and growing public confidence in the government housing agenda. And I hope they will not listen to other voices outside there. Number three, to improve living conditions for students and support the expansion of higher education, the government has packaged 177,686 students' beds for development across universities, while 22,512 institutional housing units are under construction for our disciplined forces, teachers, healthcare workers, and other public servants. Number four, the program has also created over 640,442 jobs across the housing value chain through construction activities, professional services, manufacturing, logistics, and supporting industries. And of course, these are Kenyans who would be jobless if we didn't have their housing program. And number five, under the Modern Markets program, a total of 476 markets have been packaged for development nationwide, with 354 already under implementation. This will provide dignified trading spaces and support entrepreneurship, and that is the bottom-up economic transformation agenda. Mr. Speaker and honorable members, the government continues to implement a number of interventions to empower our youth And in particular, the government has, 1, constructed 4 youth empowerment centers in Mwea, Chepalungu, Dagoretti North, and Mandera South constituencies. In addition, 25 youth empowerment centers have been equipped, bringing the total to 156 youth empowerment centers across the country. Number 2, the government has also enhanced skills development and wealth creation through provision of loans to 93,559 youth entrepreneurs through the Youth Enterprise Development Fund. Additionally, 91,253 youth have benefited through startup grants under the National Youth Opportunity Towards Advancement (NYOTA) program. The NYOTA program has also supported 51,604 youth through on-job experience in 26 counties across the country. And number 3, government has also implemented Vijana Vuka na Afya project in Nairobi, Kisumu, and Mombasa, where 72,623 youths have benefited from subsidized sexual reproductive health services. Mr. Speaker, in support of the creative economy, the government has established 3 film hubs in Dedan Kimathi University in Nyeri, and also in Bomet and in Migori counties, and fully equipped them with film production equipment. Additionally, a cinema theater has been established at Dedan Kimathi University of Technology with a capacity of 150 audiences. Further, to reach more youth, particularly in rural areas, a cinema Mashinani program has been rolled out. The government has also facilitated the production of 1,745 local and foreign films in Kenya and trained 1,847 filmmakers. Mr. Speaker, to further empower the youth, the government, in partnership with the United Nations Development Program, has developed the NextGen.ke initiative that will provide recently graduated youth with paid internship opportunities in the private sector, enabling them to acquire practical workplace experience and market-relevant skills. And I personally led the negotiation on this scope. To support this intervention, the government has committed an initial allocation of 2 billion towards its implementation. Mr. Speaker, given the scale of the youth employment challenge, the government further calls upon development partners, the private sector, philanthropic organizations, and other stakeholders to join this national effort, acknowledging that the task of creating opportunities for Kenya's youth extends beyond the capacity of government alone and requires a broad-based partnership for sustainable impact. Honorable members and Mr. Speaker and honorable members, to support MSMEs, the government has moved deliberately to put affordable credit, markets, and shared infrastructure directly into the hands of the enterprises and the young people at the base of the economy. To expand access to affordable credit, the government set up the Hustler Fund in 2022. Since then, the fund has actually disbursed 87 billion Kenya shillings to 28 million accounts and given 4.5 million people previously unscored or blacklisted Kenyans a formal credit history for the first time. Mr. Speaker, under the NYOTA program, more than 5.6 billion has been invested in business skills training, mentorship, and startup capital, benefiting at least 84 youths in each of the country's 1,450 wards. And to promote value addition, the government has equipped 214 industrial development centers in our constituencies and opened regional markets to more than 1,100 of our enterprises, creating over 23,000 direct and indirect jobs. This is the bottom-up transformation at work, and in the coming year, we will scale it further. Mr. Speaker, the sustained investment by the government since 2022 has improved infrastructure development, thereby enhancing connectivity, boosting manufacturing, facilitating trade, and enhancing access to markets and essential services. Key achievements in this sector include the following. 1, expansion of road network across the country with over 2,669 kilometers of roads constructed and more than 132,000 kilometers maintained. Number 2, increased country's installed electricity generation capacity to 3,272 megawatts as at April 2026, with additional capacity expected from the 35 megawatt Globex power plant. To improve energy security and reliability, the government has modernized substations, strengthened the national grid, reduced system losses, and enhanced regional power interconnections. As a result, 73.45 kilometers of transmission lines and associated substations were constructed, while 200 kilometers of transmission lines were energized, including the Lesos, Kabarnet, Kitui Wote, and Sondu Homa Bay lines. In addition, 330 kilometers of distribution lines and 7 associated substations were also completed. Mr. Speaker, during the same period, access to electricity expanded significantly, with the number of customers connected rising from 8.9 million to over 10.2 million Kenyans. And number 3, industrialization is currently gaining momentum, with 10 county aggregation and industrial parks constructed over the last 3 years to support value addition and create employment opportunities across the counties. Mr. Speaker, we have also invested heavily in critical social sectors and supported the vulnerable in the society. And as a result, a social protection program have been strengthened, with 1.2 million vulnerable Kenyans currently supported under the Inua Jamii program, helping to improve household resilience and protect the most vulnerable members of our society. And access to education and skill development has expanded through the implementation of far-reaching reforms across the education sector, including successful implementation of the competency-based curriculum. Number 2, rollout of the student-centered funding model, through which nearly 500,000 university and TVET students have benefited from scholarships and loans based on need and merit. Number 3, recruitment of 100,000 teachers to strengthen teaching capacity and improve learner outcomes, a record in the history of any government in this country. Number 4, timely and consistent release, and I want to repeat, timely and consistent release of capitation funds to support learning in basic institutions. Number 5, construction of over 23,000 classrooms and commencement of 1,600 laboratories in partnership with the National Government Constituency Development Fund, which continues to do a good job and deliver services to this country. Revitalization of technical and vocational education and training, with enrollment increasing from 562,499 trainees in 2022 to currently 825,484 trainees in 2025. Mr. Speaker, access to clean and safe water has improved, with an additional 6 million Kenyans gaining access to water services through investment in key projects.
The Voto's acne removal, effortless precision with a simple slider. Navigate to blemish removal and select Freckles Acne.
Surprise, considering that Kenya is a leader in designing innovative, paradigm-shifting, locally led climate action. Take the FLOCA program, for example. It has broken the barrier in financing locally prioritized and locally led resilience investments in 1,380 wards across 45 counties, benefiting more than 2.5 million beneficiaries. Mr. Speaker, key among the FLOCA gold standard investments are the 58-kilometer rehabilitation of the Colonial Yatta Canal in Machakos County, a reverse osmosis water treatment facility in Makueni, and the Kolanya water project in Busia County. As a matter of fact, Kenya is the leading beneficiary of the Green Climate Fund, with a total of 37 projects approved and with a portfolio of more than $1 billion, a remarkable achievement that led Kenya's identification as the host of Green Climate Finance Africa Region Office. Mr. Speaker, the government has made strides in the blue economy. Gains made under it includes fish landing sites. 5 coastal counties have modern landing sites under development. Mwape in Kwale, Kenya shillings 255 million. Kidongo in Mombasa, 175 million shillings. Kilifi Central, 275 million. Kipini in Tana River, 151 million. Mokowe in Lamu, 239 million. Each of the sites includes ice and cold storage facilities, boat docking areas, processing points, ablution blocks, market stalls, and waste management system, supporting fish preservation, trade, and employment. These projects are scheduled for completion by June 2026. Also included in these gains is the lake site. There are 4 fish landing sites, 9 sites along Lake Victoria, including Asat, Ogal, Bumbe, Wichloom, Asembo Bay, Wakula, Mainuga, Nyandiwa, and Gorkachola at 1.49 billion by end of June 2026. Along Lake Turkana is also the Kalokol fish landing site, 182 million. Contractor on site includes docking facilities, cold storage and ice plants, fish processing areas, and market support infrastructure. There is also Lower Engak Fish Market, 185 million. Contractor on site features cold storage, hygienic market stalls, and processing facilities to support fishers and traders. This is the inclusion that we need in this country. Mr. Speaker, the arid and semi-arid lands in the northern Kenya region has historically been marginalized. And to drive inclusion and transform the region, the government is implementing various interventions targeting infrastructure development and social inclusion programs. These include construction of a 750-kilometer northern Kenya Gateway Corridor that connects 3 expansive counties of Isiolo, Wajir, and Mandera to boost regional connectivity and trade. Under this, there are various ongoing roads that government is implementing with the support of development partners. Mr. Speaker, the government is also implementing various water interventions in the region through drilling and equipping of boreholes, construction of dams and water pans, and expansion of bulk water supply systems. Further, key interventions in the education sector include recruitment of 5,000 teachers in the hard-to-reach areas, integration of alternative learning systems like Duksi or Islamic religious schools and madrasa into formal education framework, construction of low-cost boarding facilities and dormitories in this region, provision of scholarships to protect vulnerable students from dropping out, and implementation of TVETs to equip pastoralist youth with hands-on skills. Finally, Mr. Speaker, devolution has been strengthened through the consistent and timely disbursement of resources to county governments, ensuring continuity in service delivery and implementation of county development programs. Since 2022, funding to county governments has steadily increased, with equitable share to counties increasing from 370 billion shillings in financial year 2022-23 budget to 428 billion Kenya shillings in the financial year 2026-27 budget. Total county allocations that include shareable revenue and additional allocations from the national government allocations, as well as donor proceeds, has therefore increased from 392 billion to 502 billion over the same period. This reflects government's unwavering commitment to safeguarding and strengthening devolution as a key pillar of inclusive national development. Mr. Speaker, while we take pride in these achievements, we cannot afford complacency. Global uncertainty persists, high cost of living continues to affect many households, youth unemployment persists, and climate-related shocks continue to affect livelihoods and production. Mr. Speaker, our task is therefore clear: to solve the many problems facing Kenyans by sustaining targeted interventions and better in order to accelerate job creation for our youth, grow investment and trade, and deepen economic resilience. Accordingly, Mr. Speaker, we chose the theme of the financial year 2026-27 budget as sustaining the bottom-up economic transformation agenda for resilient and inclusive growth amid global uncertainty. This theme aligns with the current challenges and priorities of the government. And Mr. Speaker, as we move forward in implementing the government's transformation agenda, we remain mindful of all the concerns raised by Kenyans on the prevailing fiscal environment and the need for continued prudence in the management of public resources. The current fiscal position, that is characterized by narrowing fiscal space, calls for careful prioritization and disciplined execution of government programs. Mr. Speaker, let me speak plainly about the fiscal reality we face. Kenya's infrastructure financing deficit stands at approximately $5 billion every year. That's about 650 billion Kenya shillings. Our development budget, while growing, cannot close that gap alone. The era of financing every road, every power line, and every dam through government borrowing and taxation is over. Not because we lack ambitions, but because we have learned from the consequences of that model. Debt finance infrastructure has left us with more debt service obligations that crowd out the very spending our people need most on health, education, and social protection. So, Mr. Speaker, we are going to build better. We are shifting from a model where government borrows to build to enhanced use of the public-private partnership and the recently established National Infrastructure Fund in funding priority infrastructure through private sector finances. That is the foundation on which this government's infrastructure program rests. Mr. Speaker, the Rironi-Nakuru-Mau Summit Expressway stands as proof. Construction of the expressway is now underway, and Kenyans will be driving on a modern 4- to 6-lane expressway once completed. Thank you. What makes this project truly historic is not the speed of delivery, it is how it was financed. Through the participation of the National Social Security Fund, both as a debt and equity investor, alongside international investors, a major national highway is being built with Kenyan capital by Kenyan workers and for the Kenyan people. Mr. Speaker, beyond the Rironi-Nakuru-Mau Summit project, the government will continue executing an ambitious infrastructure development plan through the National Infrastructure Fund, expenditure proposals, and taxation measures for the financial year. Mr. Speaker, this budget, as I said earlier, has been prepared amidst heightened uncertainties associated with ongoing conflict in the Middle East. The conflict has disrupted critical energy infrastructure and major shipping routes, including the Strait of Hormuz, thereby exerting upward pressure on prices of energy and food. Mr. Speaker, against this backdrop, global growth is therefore projected to slow down to 3.1% in 2026 and 3.2% in 2027, from the average of 3.4% in both 2024 and 2025. Domestic economy. Back home, Mr. Speaker, notwithstanding the challenging global environment, the Kenyan economy has remained largely resilient, and the economy grew at an average of 5% in the period 2022 to 2025, outperforming the average global growth of 3.4% and that of sub-Saharan Africa of 4.1%. This performance reflects sound macroeconomic policy management, particularly prudent monetary and sound fiscal policies, sustained structural reforms, and the increasing diversification of the economy, which has enhanced its capacity to withstand severe shocks. Mr. Speaker, in 2025, the economy grew by 4.6% compared to a growth rate of 4.7% in 2024. This growth was supported by positive growth in all the sectors. All the sectors of the economy at least registered positive growth. The outlook for 2026 has been revised downwards, however, to 5% from the earlier projection of 5.3%, reflecting the adverse impact of the ongoing conflict in the Middle East to domestic economic activities. The economy is projected to maintain the momentum in 2027 with a projected growth rate of 5.2%. So, Mr. Speaker, macroeconomic indicators remain broadly stable through the emerging external pressures, though the emerging external pressures continue to impact domestic prices. And in particular, overall inflation increased to 6.7% in May 2026 from 5.6% in April and from 3.8% in May 2025 due to higher energy prices arising from the elevated global oil prices, but remained within the target range of plus or minus 2.5% over and above 5%. Inflation is expected to remain within the target range in the near term, assuming a de-escalation of the conflict in the Middle East, and supported by appropriate monetary policy actions and government interventions. Expected stability in food prices due to favorable weather conditions and the stability in the exchange rate. Mr. Speaker, in April 2026, the government has deployed targeted stabilization measures to cushion consumers from the full impact of rising global fuel prices. These interventions include use of resources in the Petroleum Development Levy Fund to subsidize the fuel pump prices. And in addition, the government lowered the VAT rate on petroleum products for 3 months from 16% to 8%. Mr. Speaker, monetary conditions have eased considerably. This follows reduction in the central bank rate from 11.25% in December 2024 to the current rate of 8.7%. And I'm happy the CBK maintained the same rate for the time being. As a result, interest rates have declined over the same period. The 91-day Treasury bill rate declined about 8.3% in May 2026 from 10.3% in December 2024. Similarly, average commercial banks lending rates declined to 14.5% in May 2026 from 16.9% in May 2025 and 17.2% in November 2024. Reflecting the decline in the lending rates, credit to the private sector expanded by 9.3% in the year to May 2026 from 2% in the year to May 2025 and a contraction of 1.4% in December 2024. The external sector remains resilient despite emerging risks. The current account deficit is projected at 3% of GDP in 2026 compared to 2.1% of GDP in 2025, reflecting the higher international oil prices, lower receipts from services, slower growth in remittance inflows, and reduced exports. This is due to the adverse impact of the ongoing conflict in the Middle East. At the same time, official foreign exchange reserves remains adequate, as I mentioned, at USD 13 billion in May 2026, equivalent to 5.6 months of import cover, and continues to provide adequate cover and a buffer against short-term domestic and external shocks. The exchange rate has also remained broadly stable, averaging 129.4 shillings per US dollar in May 2026. And activities in Nairobi Securities Exchange have improved over the past 1 year. The Nairobi Securities Exchange 20-share index rose by 59.9% to 3,491 points in May 2026, up from 2,183 points in May 2025, while market capitalization expanded by 61.6% to 3,412 billion from Kenya shillings 2.11 billion over the same period, trillion over the same period. However, between February and May 2026, the Nairobi Securities Exchange 20-share index declined by 5.5% as investors became cautious of the rising global uncertainty associated with the conflict in the Middle East. Mr. Speaker, the fiscal policy stance for financial year 2026-27 and the medium term is anchored on a fiscal consolidation strategy that advances the priorities of the bottom-up economic transformation agenda while safeguarding debt sustainability and provision of essential public services. The strategy will be supported by continuous domestic revenue mobilization and expenditure rationalization through targeted tax and expenditure reforms. As a result, the fiscal deficit, including grants, is projected to decline gradually from 5.5% of GDP in the financial year 26-27 to 3.3% of GDP in financial year 28-29. Risks remain though. Domestically, climate-related shocks could disrupt agricultural production and infrastructure, while externally, geopolitical tensions, commodity price volatility, weaker global growth, and tighter financial conditions continue to adversely affect inflation, exports, and capital flows. The government will continue to monitor evolution of these risks closely and deploy timely policy intervention to safeguard stability, strengthen resilience, and sustain inclusive economic growth. Mr. Speaker, I will now turn to the policy priorities and strategic interventions that will underpin the budget for financial year 2026-2027. Policy priorities and structural reforms. It will be anchored on bottom-up economic transformation agenda. Mr. Speaker, the economic context I have outlined is a clear reminder that we are operating in a period that demands resolve, discipline, and decisive actions. The convergence of global shocks and domestic pressures calls not only for incremental adjustments, but for bold and well-coordinated policy responses. In this regard, the government has taken and will continue to take firm and where necessary decisive actions to consolidate recent gains, safeguard macroeconomic stability, protect livelihoods, and strengthen economic transformation. Mr. Speaker, our focus is not only on navigating the immediate challenges, but also on accelerating structural transformation, creating jobs at scale, and ensuring that the benefits of growth are broadly shared among all Kenyans. Mr. Speaker, these interventions are being implemented within a coherent and forward-looking framework anchored on the bottom-up economic transformation agenda. Better remains the government's principal vehicle for translating policy into tangible outcome, and at the household level by aligning investments, reforms, and institutions around the goal scaling targeted interventions that address binding constraints to productivity, expand economic opportunities, and strengthen resilience across sectors. These priority pillars are deliberately structured to reinforce one another, ensuring that progress in one area catalyzes gains across the broader economy. Mr. Speaker, the government also continues to implement complementary cross-cutting policy interventions to sustain economic resilience, accelerate inclusive growth, and improve business environment. This will create a seamless transition to the next frontier of economic transformation. These interventions include the following. 1. Strengthening fiscal and monetary policy coordination to safeguard economic stability and reinforce investor confidence. 2. Enhancing fiscal sustainability by expanding domestic revenue mobilization and improving efficiency of public expenditure. 3. Modernization of strategic infrastructure in transport and logistics, energy, and water sector to improve productivity, connect markets, lower the cost of doing business, and enhance competitiveness. 4. Supporting industrial development, trade, tourism, blue economy, MSMEs, and innovation to accelerate job creation, broaden economic opportunities, and transform Kenya's economy to a net exporter of goods and services. 5. Strengthening environmental conservation and climate change, mitigation and adaptation measures to promote sustainable development and resilience. And 6. Supporting human capital development through continued investment in quality education, universal health care, and well-targeted social protection interventions. 7. Advancing youth empowerment through targeted investment in skills development, entrepreneurship, digital opportunities, and access to affordable financing. And 8. Strengthening governance reforms to enhance public service delivery. Now I want to talk about evidence-based decision-making. Mr. Speaker, as we implement this budget, the government reaffirms its commitment to strengthening economic planning and development as the foundation of sustainable growth, prudent resource allocation, and improved service delivery to our citizens. In the coming financial year, we will intensify efforts to institutionalize evidence-based planning and decision-making across all levels of government. This approach will ensure that public resources are directed to interventions that deliver the highest economic and social returns, aligning with the national development priorities. To achieve this, the government will accelerate the finalization and implementation of a comprehensive economic planning policy and an economic planning bill. These two instruments will create a coherent, transparent mechanism for identifying, prioritizing, and sequencing government policies, programs, and projects based on rigorous economic analysis, affordability, and measurable impact. Mr. Speaker, we will also continue to invest in national statistical system, policy research, data analytics, and monitoring and evaluation to provide timely, reliable evidence for decision-making. Integrated planning and data management system will be rolled out to improve coordination among ministries, departments, agencies, and even county governments. Mr. Speaker, through these measures, we will foster a culture of evidence-based policy making, strengthen public accountability, and ensure that every shilling spent delivers maximum value to the people of Kenya. On the policy and legal and institutional reforms front, Mr. Speaker, to strengthen economic stability, The government continues to roll out targeted structural, institutional, and regulatory reforms to improve the business environment, boost public services efficiency, and reinforce accountability in public finances. In building resilience against climate change, Mr. Speaker, the government has continued to make concerted efforts to strengthen disaster risk management. The recently enacted National Disaster Risk Management Bill, which is now an act of parliament, and I thank this National Assembly, provides a legal framework for coordination of disaster risk management activities across the two levels of government, supporting prompt responses when disasters occur. Mr. Speaker, to further strengthen the country's preparedness and response to climate-related risk, the National Treasury is spearheading the development of a new disaster risk financing strategy for the period 2026-2030, since the earlier strategy for the year 2018-2022 came to an end. Mr. Speaker, and in response to changes in climate, the government will continue to implement the Financing Locally Led Climate Action Program, a transformative initiative that has unlocked green investments at the county level, empowering local communities to adapt to impacts of climate change. Mr. Speaker, to finance large-scale climate and environmental projects, the government will establish the Kenya Green Investment Facility in line with the Kenya's commitments under the nationally determined contributions to the Paris Agreement. To further scale green financing, the government is finalizing the framework for issuance of sustainability-linked bonds with targets in forestry and rural electrification expansion. Mr. Speaker, Kenya secured the hosting rights for the Green Climate Fund Regional Office for East and Southern Africa in Nairobi, reinforcing the country's position as a regional green finance hub. Further, the National Treasury is at an advanced stage of accreditation as a direct access entity to the Green Climate Fund, enabling the country increase public sector-driven climate investments and opportunities. Mr. Speaker, the government will host the African Green Investment Forum in October 2026. And this forum will serve as a flagship continental initiative designed to mobilize substantial green finance, accelerate sustainable investments, and advance Africa's leadership in this domain. On public procurement reforms, Mr. Speaker, to operationalize procurement reforms and eliminate manual inefficiencies, the government officially launched the rollout of an end-to-end e-government procurement system in July 2025. The system has now shifted procurement processes from fragmented and manual processes to a fully digitized procurement platform. The platform has been integrated with core government systems, including IFMIS, Business Registration Services, and ITAX, with initial onboarding prioritizing national government ministries, departments and agencies. State corporations and county governments will then follow. Significant progress has been made, and to date, 1,543 procuring entities have been registered, over 40,000 suppliers registered, over 22,000 staff trained, over 12,000 suppliers or contractors have also been trained. 652 annual procurement plans have been published and over 8,000 tenders published. Mr. Speaker, going forward, the next steps will include full rollout of the system to all schools and other procuring entities that are yet to onboard to the EGP system. Continuous user training and change management to improve adoption and system utilization will be conducted. Further, Mr. Speaker, beginning July 1st, 2026, there will be no exemption. There will be no exemption to procure outside the system. Together, these measures will ensure that every shilling allocated through this budget delivers maximum value to Kenyans. Mr. Speaker, during the implementation of the EGP system, we have experienced challenges which have hindered Thank you. Mr. Speaker, during the implementation of EGP system, we have experienced challenges which have hindered the seamless implementation of the system. Some of these challenges include resistance from users and litigation in the courts. Mr. Speaker, to further strengthen our procurement framework, the government developed the Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Bill, Amendment Bill 2026, among the key reform areas in the bill, which include mandatory disclosure and reporting requirements, promotion of local content, and preference and reservation schemes, especially for youth, women, and persons with disabilities, and provision of a stronger legal basis for electronic procurement and framework contracting. Mr. Speaker, I submitted this bill of 2026 to Parliament for consideration and approval. I urge the House to favorably consider the bill. I want to now speak about the reforms under the state corporations. Mr. Speaker, state corporations remain a cornerstone of Kenya's development architecture, delivering essential public services and catalyzing strategic investments. Mr. Speaker, I mentioned in my statement last year that the government embarked on a comprehensive reforms which target to streamline mandates, strengthen governance, enhance accountability, and improve operational efficiency of state-owned enterprises. Mr. Speaker, the implementation of the reforms is ongoing through a multi-agency technical working committee. In the first phase, the committee considered 23 mergers, 16 dissolutions, 7 transfers of functions back to ministries, departments and agencies, and the declassification of selected state corporations. Mr. Speaker, under phase 1 of the reforms, the committee has finalized the review of enabling legislations of the affected state corporations and drafted appropriate bills where necessary. Review of the staff complements, skills, and placement deployment of those affected so as to facilitate a smooth transition and documentation of assets and liabilities of the entities identified. I submitted to this House the draft bill supporting the implementation of the reforms under phase 1, and I urge the honorable members to favorably consider the bills to enable timely implementation of the reforms. Now let me speak about the new kid in the town, government-owned enterprises. Mr. Speaker, further, as part of the reforms, the Government-Owned Enterprises Act number 25 of 2025 was assented to by His Excellency the President on 21st November 2025 and came into effect on 5th December 2025. The Act provides a modern framework for the ownership, oversight and management of commercial state corporations. Under the Act, the Independent Search and Selection Panel has begun the process of recruiting independent directors of the Board of GOEs. All the government-owned enterprises are required to operate as commercial entities, that is for profit, be self-financing, be self-sustaining, as accountable to the public through the National Treasury. Let me now speak about National Infrastructure Fund. Mr. Speaker, in March 2026, the government established the National Infrastructure Fund following the enactment of the National Infrastructure Act of 2026. The NIF is an innovative mechanism for scaling up infrastructure development by mobilizing private capital and expertise to execute commercially viable infrastructure projects while reducing reliance on taxation and debt. The fund will promote growth of infrastructure projects by pooling capital from diverse sources, which include pension funds, sovereign wealth funds, private equity, banks, development finance institutions, among others, to finance large-scale and long-term projects. In this respect, Mr. Speaker, the proceeds from privatization will be channeled into the fund, that ensuring transparent revenue flow in financing national priority projects, including national highways, airports, seaports, electricity generation of Kenya Pipeline Company of 106 billion Kenya shillings, as well as the expected 204 billion Kenya shillings from the partial divestiture of the government stake in Safaricom to Vodacom will form about the, speak to sugar reforms or the reforms in the sugar sector. Mr. Speaker, the government has also taken practical steps to deliver its promise to modernize the sugar mills and transform these once struggling factories into productive, sustainable enterprises. profitability and protect the livelihoods of farmers. Not isolated transactions. They are proof that when governance is strengthened, when mandates are clarified, and when institutions are held to account, the corporations can be genuine engines of growth. The government will press forward, deepening these reforms and ensuring that every public enterprise earns its place through performance, transparency, and value created. Now let me speak to national assets and inventory management. Mr. Speaker, to strengthen national assets management, the National Treasury has operationalized the assets and inventory management modules in our IFMIS, providing real-time visibility of public assets across all levels of government. An analysis of the asset registers shows that ministries, departments, and agencies collectively hold assets valued at approximately 4.9 trillion Kenya shillings, underscoring the importance of robust asset management. To strengthen transparency and support the transition to accrual accounting, the National Treasury has developed a government asset valuation policy framework and a public assets tagging framework. Mr. Speaker, to unlock greater value from these assets without placing additional pressure on public finances, the National Treasury is developing an asset optimization framework and a leasing framework to attract private capital and expertise while supporting infrastructure development and improved service delivery. Now let me speak to digital e-signatures in government. Mr. Speaker, in line with the digital transformation agenda, the government has also embarked on reforms to modernize and harmonize the legal and regulatory framework governing secure digital identities, electronic signatures, electronic seals, and time stamping services. Excuse me. Mr. Speaker, to make this a reality, I will in the next financial year submit to this House necessary amendments to the Public Finance Management Act and Kenya Information and Communications Act, as well as the attendant regulations. This will make use of electronic signatures, electronic seals, and time stamping services a reality in government, thereby creating efficiency in service delivery. Mr. Speaker, let me speak to something that has been troubling, the pending bills. Mr. Speaker, as I informed this House in my statement last year, the pending bills verification committee was established in November 2023 to review and validate outstanding claims and provide a credible basis for settlement. The committee has since concluded its work and analyzed a total of 91,911 pending bill claims, valued at over 637 billion shillings. Following this verification exercise, 29,885 claims amounting to 235.6 billion have been recommended for settlement. Of this amount, Kenya shillings 80.3 billion has already been settled through securitization in the road sector, leaving a verified outstanding balance of 155.3 billion Kenya shillings for other sectors. Mr. Speaker, to settle the verified outstanding balance of 155.3 billion Kenya shillings, the National Treasury has proposed a balance and
Choose from thousands of realistic voices to use in your content. Change the way you record.
Sustainable settlement strategy, which includes a combination of direct budgetary allocations and securitization. The proposal is to settle the verified outstanding balance of 155.3 billion over 2 years, starting with the financial year 2026-2027. Mr. Speaker, in the financial year 2026-27, the National Treasury is proposing a budgetary provision of 68 billion to settle the verified pending bills to suppliers and contractors owed by the government for amounts of up to 100 million shillings. This provision will also partly settle suppliers or contractors whose pending bills exceed 100 million shillings, ensuring that no supplier is excluded. With the settlement of this 68 billion worth of claims, the government will have settled 99% of the verified outstanding pending bills, representing 63% of the total value, a tremendous progress. Now, in terms of numbers, this will be 99 of the bills. But the remaining 88 billion worth of claims will be addressed through other budgetary provisions and instruments. Mr. Speaker, the deliberate policy of settling pending bills of up to 100 million Kenya shillings, while individually smaller in value, accounts for the majority of suppliers and have the highest multiplier effect on economic activity. This is to ensure that the micro, small, and medium enterprises are not starved of the essential working capital, which is critical to the sustainability of their businesses. Financial sector reforms. Mr. Speaker, Kenya's financial sector remains strong and continues to support households, businesses, savings, and investment across the country. Mr. Speaker, today, the banking sector remains strong, very stable and profitable, supported by adequate capital and liquidity buffers. In the year to March 2026, total banking sector assets grew by 13.8% from 7.7 trillion to 8.7 trillion, and profitability increased by 13.6% from 73 billion Kenya shilling to 83.5 billion. Mr. Speaker, to strengthen the banking sector's resilience, deepen competition, and improve access to credit for households and businesses, the government is implementing the following reforms. 1. Progressive increase in minimum core capital requirements for commercial banks from 1 billion to 10 billion by December 2029. 2. Lifted the moratorium on licensing of new commercial banks effective 1st July 2025. 3. Implementation of the revised risk-based credit pricing model anchored on the Kenya shilling overnight interbank average to enhance transparency and fairness in loan pricing and strengthen monetary policy transmission. And number 4, implementation of the banking penalties regulations 2025 to strengthen enforcement, governance, accountability, and compliance in the banking sector. Mr. Speaker, to strengthen banking sector's resilience and stability, the Business Laws Amendment Act of 2024 requires commercial banks to progressively raise the minimum core capital from 1 billion to 10 billion Kenya shillings by 2029 through targeted milestones. Mr. Speaker, while the government firmly upholds the strategic necessity of raising the minimum core capital, it is prudent that this transition be managed in a manner that is least disruptive to credit access and financial services delivery, particularly to the micro, small, and medium enterprise segment and other niche markets currently served by the banking industry. Mr. Speaker, to allow flexibility in achieving this objective and following wide consultation, especially with Kenya Bankers Association, I will be proposing amendments to the timeline specified in the Business Laws Amendment Act of 2024 to allow commercial banks raise the minimum core capital to 10 billion by 31st December 2032 without their new annual milestones. This will provide the flexibility necessary for institutions to pursue measured, commercially sound, and market-sensitive capital-raising strategies in a manner that preserves shareholder value and sustains investor confidence. Mr. Speaker, to make it easier and cheaper for Kenyans and businesses to send and receive money across the East Africa region, partner states are working to connect their financial system as per the East African Community Payment System Master Plan of 2025 so that transactions are faster, more affordable, and more efficient to support trade and regional integration. Mr. Speaker, to safeguard the country against illicit financial flows, the government has over the last 2 years undertaken far-reaching reforms aimed at strengthening our anti-money laundering, counter-financing of terrorism, and counter-proliferation financing framework following the country's placement on the Financial Action Task Force Grey List in February 2024. These reforms include the adoption of the Virtual Asset Service Providers legal framework, strengthening beneficial ownership transparency, enhancing risk-based supervision across financial and designated non-financial business and professions sectors, improving interagency collaboration, and increasing investigations, prosecutions, and asset recovery efforts relating to money laundering and terrorism financing offenses. Further, Mr. Speaker, reporting institutions have continued to enhance compliance with AML and CFT obligations, thereby reinforcing the integrity and resilience of our financial system. Mr. Speaker, Kenya has actually made substantial progress in addressing the action items under the FATS Action Plan, with only a few outstanding measures remaining as we approach the conclusion of the implementation period. The government remains fully committed to finalizing the remaining reforms and securing Kenya's exit from the grey list at the earliest opportunity. These achievements demonstrate our unwavering resolve to align Kenya with the international best practices, safeguard the country against illicit financial flows, and strengthen investor confidence in our economy. And Mr. Speaker, the government is also supporting innovation in financial services through the implementation of the Virtual Asset Service Providers Act of 2025. And in this regard, we have developed regulations to govern virtual asset service providers. The regulations framework ensures that new technologies operate in a safe and regulated environment that protects users, strengthens financial stability, and encourages responsible innovation. Under capital markets, Mr. Speaker, I have the following to say. The government continues to implement measures to deepen and broaden capital markets in order to mobilize savings for productive long-term investment. These efforts have continued to yield results, with the Nairobi Securities Exchange recording exceptional performance in 2025. Mr. Speaker, the capital market supported the recent initial public offering by the Kenya Pipeline Company and its subsequent listing at the Nairobi Securities Exchange in March 2026. Further, the capital market supported recent issuances by various companies to raise capital. These include 44 billion Kenya shillings, Sharia-compliant leasing bond for infrastructure financing. The Safaricom's Kenya shillings 20 billion green bond to support 5G expansion. The East Africa Breweries PLC Kenya shillings 16.8 billion medium-term note program, and the Kenya shillings 3.4 billion by Spearhead Africa Infrastructure Fund to support long-term infrastructure financing across the region. Mr. Speaker, innovation in market access has advanced significantly with the launch of ZD trading application integrated into the M-Pesa platform. And this groundbreaking platform enables Kenyans to conveniently buy and sell securities through their mobile phones, marking a major milestone in financial inclusion and retail investor participation. Mr. Speaker, Kenya is emerging as a key player in the carbon credit space, leveraging its rich natural resources and a strong base in renewable energy to participate in global climate markets. To actualize formal trading of carbon credits, the government is preparing carbon credit regulations, and these regulations will allow the government and private sector players to benefit through trading of carbon credits generated in Kenya and the region. And Mr. Speaker, in my recent public engagements, coffee farmers raised concerns of continued exploitation by middlemen in the marketing and pricing of their coffee. Mr. Speaker, I want to assure Kenyans that through the reforms the government is implementing at the Nairobi Coffee Exchange, the exploitative middlemen have been eliminated, ensuring farmers retain a much larger share of the export price of their coffee. Farmers today are able to sell their coffee directly at the exchange, supported by their various brokerage firms, majority of whom are owned by the farmers through their cooperative societies. The Nairobi Coffee Exchange has also enabled price discovery, thereby improving earnings by the coffee farmers. And to further support prompt payment of coffee sold through Nairobi Coffee Exchange, the government introduced the direct settlement system that has reduced payment delays across the coffee value chain. Mr. Speaker, coffee's traceability is today a reality. Through the Nairobi Coffee Exchange trading platform and the direct settlement system, cataloging and invoicing, every coffee lot has a unique identification, milling data, warehouse records, auction sales, and buyer data that can be accessed, allowing traceability of coffee from the farm to the buyer. This has created greater buyer confidence of the origin, quality, and authenticity of Kenyan coffee by eliminating coffee laundering. On pension reforms, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, delayed pension processing has for long been a source of frustration and hardship for retiring public servants. A civil servant who has dedicated their career to public service deserves timely and